Jay Crawford, Adam the Bull, Garrett Bush, and so many big names, it would take me hours to say all of their names. The ultimate Cleveland sports show. Booyah!
48 hours and counting until the NFL runs out of time to appeal this decision.
Where you at, Roger?
Yeah, come on, Raj.
Just let it sit.
Somebody asked me yesterday, do you think they're going to appeal? I said, I don't know. I don't think they should. But if they do, it'll be at the 71st hour and the 59th minute. Because that's how they get.
That's typically how they roll,
well,
for sure.
Yesterday on the program, I can't remember who it was. It might have been Josina. Somebody said what the NFL is doing now is licking their finger.
Yep.
They're putting it up in the air, and they're testing the waters.
They're like, is the Today Show talking about it?
Yeah. What did the Times have to say about this?
I heard we were on NPR. That's not good. They never talk about sports. That's a bad thing if it's that national.
Yeah.
It definitely took Twitter by storm yesterday.
Yeah,
it did.
We're going to talk a lot about the reaction to the decision, whether or not the league will appeal. As I said, they had 3 days. One is up. They have 2 more. We'll know by Thursday at this time whether or not they're going to appeal the decision. Also on today's show, we're going to talk about Browns training camp. Aditi is going to join us live from training camp here in about 15 minutes or so. I think 11:15-ish, somewhere in there.
Browns training camp, not Steelers training camp.
Yes.
She walks between both worlds like Blade.
That's exactly right. She's trying to serve 2 masters. I don't know if that's possible.
Yep.
Very difficult thing to do.
I don't know how she got that off.
She got to pick a side.
Honestly.
It's D-Day.
We know where her loyalty is. And Gene Smith, the athletic director at The Ohio State University, is going to join us in the second hour of the program. We've got a ton of questions for him. I'm glad you wore your shirt because I really want to know about this future Big Ten expansion.
Yes.
Because last week was the report from CBS that Oregon and Washington and Stanford and Cal are also in some kind of preliminary talks joining the Big Ten. It's going to be the Big 20.
Don't you think we should exclusively ask him Deshaun Watson questions, though?
And just Deshaun
That's
Watson.
it. Ask
If
him
you
nothing.
were Sue L. Robinson, how would you have decided?
Did you see what she was wearing today when she went to work? What do you think that represents?
I think he would politely decline and not respond to
Can I
it.
ask him? Can Terrell Pryor come back on campus
I
now?
ask you. I think his suspension is up.
He's
actually.
done?
Yeah,
There you go.
she can come
I
back.
wouldn't go there.
Wait a minute.
Look at Jay was like,
Wait a minute.
Tyvis, why you amp this man up? Like,
Yeah, whatever you do, don't antagonize him. Don't
y'all-
encourage that kind of
Y'all
behavior.
realize
right?
that when he was with the Browns, every year they used to do like a scrimmage at the Ohio Stadium, and they one year they had to like waive his suspension for 1 day, so he could just. So
Is
he
that
could
true?
practice. Yeah.
So he could come back on
Just so he
campus?
could go on campus because he wasn't allowed there, so they
That's
literally
great.
waived
Boy.
it for 1 day.
Shout out to Terrell Pryor for being an indentured servant for that time.
Yeah, no kidding. And
Jesus,
being
bro.
born 20 years too soon.
Good gracious.
Look at the juxtaposition between what happened to him for what little he took and what athletes are able to get today.
It hurts.
I want to know what
hurts
tattoo
my
it
heart.
is. What the tattoo
I
look
just love
like.
that 1 day of immunity that he was granted, though. That's so great.
Here's your hall pass for the day, but you cannot go anywhere but the shoe. If we see you in any
Devastating.
academic buildings,
If you're here after midnight, we get to arrest you.
so absurd. Welcome to the program. If you're wondering where Bull is, he's off this week. It was supposed to be vacation, but he and his family were ready to depart for Seattle, I think on Saturday. McNuggets, if I'm wrong, correct me on any of this. And he had kidney stones.
He's a wreck.
He has kidney stones.
Painful kidney stones.
But he's doing better. I got a text from Bull saying
good.
he's feeling much better. He only took 2 painkillers yesterday and has subsided. I'm not going to get into all the details of
No, tell us more. Put some
Embarrassing.
charts up. Put some charts
we
up.
know
of his
far too
inside.
much about Bull's body and his history
All
and
that.
everything else.
Yeah.
He's doing better, though?
calf. He does say he's feeling much better.
All right. We're
And,
thinking about you, Bull.
Feel better,
See you
Adam.
soon.
Yeah, get better, man. Get better for sure. So in Bull's chair, Tyvis Powell with the appropriate shirt for the day because Gene Smith's joining us. Of course, Mike Polk and G. Bush. Guys, let's dive right in on this reaction. We're going to get to whether or not we think the league will or should appeal.
Yeah.
We chewed on that yesterday, but now we've had a news cycle to kind of gauge what the general reaction was, both from the media, from other NFL teams, players, coaches, executives, and also from the fans. And I wanted to start quickly by saying I thought yesterday there were 2 different reactions from the league that kind of raised my eyebrows. One, Baker Mayfield did the right thing when he said, that's none of my business. I was very glad to see that he took that path.
Yeah, good move.
And the other one was John Harbaugh.
Yeah.
And I know we can't play the soundbite. I don't know if you have the graphic of what he said.
We got a tag board here. Anthony, could we get
if we can look at
18
that,
on tag board?
I want to get your guys' response. If you want to weigh in on Baker, I don't know that there's anything controversial or anything really to say about that, other than he did the right thing. And this is what John Harbaugh had to say. To me, it was a bit virtue. It was virtue signaling. He was pretty much saying, I'm not at liberty to tell you my opinion on what happened, which probably means that he talked it over with the general man or with Steve Bisciotti and was told, nope, we're going to keep our thoughts in-house. But by saying what he said, he kind of tells us what he thinks.
Yeah.
And the other thing, too, was this is where I thought he did a little chest pounding. We just don't bring characters like that into our building.
Adorable.
What do you guys make of that?
He should sit this one out.
Go ahead.
I don't think he really has the room to really speak on this subject with what the former players that he had and that they idolize. One that they even idolize over there. So
there's a statue for him.
Yeah. So you can't really say what you're saying right now because you started off saying the right thing by saying I don't want to speak on it. But then once you put that extra stuff on there, now you kind of let the world know where you side with it. And I just don't think
he could have just said, I'd rather not comment. I'll talk
no
about
comment
my team.
and moved on.
And you don't really get a sense of what he's thinking. But when he said, I have some opinions, I'm not at liberty to share them.
Yeah, and I love we've been pretty good ever since that whole Ray Rice thing. Like, you can't reference the worst, most recent thing that happened and then just be like, and be like, it's like if the U.S. were just like, we've been pretty good about nukes since that Hiroshima thing. Like, we really haven't nuked anybody since then, if you think about it.
I mean, if you really think, we've actually decreased the amount of nukes we've
considerably.
had.
When was the last time we nuked anybody?
Well, and you can even go back to Ray Lewis. I was kind of, like you said, I think you should sit this one out.
No, ain't no sit this one out. Y'all being light on this dude. Listen, that was a sucker punk move by you, bro.
Whoa.
Yeah. See, this is the problem that I got with the indignant part of what people do, right? So this guy in live TV, in real life, in real time, is sitting here talking about we don't bring them dudes in when the conduct policy is in direct response to a person you had. Now, how you gonna sit up here on your soapbox and talk about we just don't bring in guys like that? Well, listen, you need to worry about playing your quarterback you got. At the end of the day, you worry about what y'all doing over here. We worry about what we doing over here. And this is why I always tell Browns fans, bro, like, don't be battered. We act like we in an abusive relationship with the rest of these teams in the league. They don't care about you. They laugh at you at every turn. And then they tap you on the shoulder. What do you guys think about that guy you got over there? When you done had Ray Lewis, I call people out by name. You done had Ray Lewis. You done had Ray Rice. You done had multiple people over there doing whatever the hell they wanted to do. And now all of a sudden, we don't bring guys in like that. Sure you don't. Sure you don't, Harbaugh. Because this is what happens when your team ain't really that good no more. You notice this a lot with the Steelers and the Ravens. When they ain't really at the tip top, they start talking a lot. When y'all had a good team, y'all never said nothing. Now you talking because guess what? You got to play Deshaun Watson. At the end of the day, it's a lot of dudes really running around scared of the Cleveland Browns and what they could accomplish this year. And it's evident by all of the moral, just virtue signaling people is doing. Worry about getting your running backs together and finding a receiver and why you can't pay Lamar Jackson. They should tell him that. Worry about your special teams.
I will say, this might be the first time I've ever whispered a word in defense of the Ravens because that's not in my DNA. But with the Ray Rice thing, he obviously was already with the team when the video was released, and they immediately cut ties with him. Not that, again, I still think John Harbaugh should be quiet and sit this one out.
You know it's bad when Baker Mayfield is showing more maturity in responding to a
that's a good point. No, that's a great point.
Your coach.
It's like
who would have thought we see today?
But it's honestly like being if me and Mike Polk, we go rob a bank and I'm the getaway guy and they only gave me 5 years and somebody say, well, listen, Garrett, what do you feel about this over here? And I'm like, well, they let me off with 5 years, but I wasn't no murderer. You can't comment on no crimes. You was part of a crime. If Ray Rice was part of your organization, if Ray Lewis was part of your organization, you have to sit silently.
Well, G. Bush, let me ask you this, though. Every team in the league, all 32, have had players on their rosters that have done things that were either illegal or egregious or immoral, on and on. I don't think the teams should be held responsible for the players' behavior. They're grown-ass men. Mm-hmm. What I think the teams are responsible for, and in this case the Ravens did the right thing, how they handle it once they know about it. They can't. How in the world are they going to police 53 grown men when they're on their own time? But they reacted properly, in my view. They said, "You're done. You're out of foot. We're cutting you. Mm-hmm. If anybody wants to pick you up, which no one did, that's fine. But you are no longer a Baltimore Raven."
But it's the optics of it. We talk about optics all the time. If my daughter had to go to rehab for drinking, I can't make fun of Tyvis's daughter because she got a drug problem. Mm-hmm. I got to chill out. I can't be throwing darts because he's gonna be like, whoa, bro. What you talking about? Everybody got problems, but why you dipping over here? I know where your daughter is.
What should the Ravens have done with the Ray Rice situation that they didn't do? Like if we're gonna throw darts at the Ravens for Ray Rice,
I don't necessarily think it's that. I just agree with G when you literally your player is the reason why this thing started.
Absolutely,
like your team is the poster team. Like this is,
which is why I think that's
why he
quiet.
That's why he should sit it out. Like you can't. You're the reason that all this even this started.
Not that they didn't handle it.
But yeah, they handled it properly.
I thought they handled 100%. It properly. I can't really kill them for that.
But when you are the source of this,
let's be quiet.
Yes.
Yeah. Let's just
try
be
for
quiet.
the best, just to step this one out, and at least wait until we actually get a final say before you start piping up about it.
Right.
This is still going on.
You see, Mike Tomlin ain't said nothing.
Right. No, which is smart.
Since the 90s.
I think honestly, the smart teams. One time, a member of the New England Patriots popped off in the media. Mm-hmm. And I think it was Julian Edelman. The week before the Patriots were going to play the Jets, shortly after the Rex Ryan foot fetish thing came out, I believe it was Edelman. I hope I'm right on this. It was. I'm pretty sure it was. He made like 40 foot references in his Wednesday news interviews with reporters.
Right.
Every foot, anytime the foot was used in a cliche, and he knew what he was doing. Obviously, he knew what he was doing.
It was Wes Welker, by the way.
Was it Wes Welker? I knew it was one of those little white receivers. Well, hey, Belichick was pissed.
He made 11 foot references in a 9-minute press conference.
There you go.
Impressive.
There you go. It was impressive.
Pretty good.
And it was funny. Bill Belichick didn't find it funny because Bill has a rule. Keep other teams' names and players out of our mouths. Mm-hmm. Why would you ever, in today's day and age of social media, and there really is a bulletin board now. It's social media. Yeah. Before it was a proverbial bulletin board. Now it does live in text form, and everybody can see it. And I think the Belichick way with handling that kind of stuff is the best way. You won't hear Bill talk about this.
Totally agree.
You won't hear us. I was disturbed about something yesterday. There were a lot of memes going around from Robert Kraft and from Ben Roethlisberger, quotes. And the quotes were, and obviously if you have a brain in your head, you can look at it and say, okay, now that's just stupid. That's not true. They didn't say that. But there was a meme going around that had a picture of Robert Kraft and the quote, I can't believe that the league's only given him 6 games. What the hell's wrong with this? Same thing with Ben Roethlisberger. Don't put out that stuff because there are people that believe it.
And
believe it or not,
they put out that stuff, though.
I know, but it's just so disturbing that someone takes the time to build a graphic. It looks legit.
Yeah, that is undefeated.
There is no critical thinking here in America.
No,
I don't know what they teach now.
If you jumped into the comments of any of those
it's
posts,
clickbait.
But people were like, I can't believe they said that. I'm good because they didn't.
They should be teaching a mandatory class in grade school at this point to show you the difference between false things and real things on the internet. At least signs. They really should. This is something that we didn't have to be prepared for because the internet didn't exist when we were children.
Well, it didn't.
But it's a part of their life now, and it's an important part. And you really do. Kids could really use a class on telling the difference between something fake and something real.
McNuggets, pipe in and tell me what you just say on the air. What you just told me in my ear.
It was Reflog who made that Robert Kraft graphic.
Now that really disappoints me because I love him.
Good for him, man.
I love McNeil.
He's in the show later.
I love him. I think he's funny.
He does some really good stuff.
He's got a great following on social. He cracks me up.
Yeah.
But I'm surprised that. See, I think most of his followers then would know, oh, of course that's not real. Did he do that for Kraft or did he do that for Ben? Because I saw
he did that for Kraft, and then he made a fake statement from the Haslams.
That dude's a stitch,
changing
man.
up what the Haslams said.
He's creative.
He is, and
he's funny, but you can see how that can be problematic.
Yes, but what it does is
I heard people repeated that to me yesterday. Did you see what Robert Kraft said?
not to put too much on it or to make it seem more profound than it is. But what he does is he likes to expose the ignorance of the internet and the viral nature of these sorts of things.
And he does a great job at it.
And it's almost a satirical social commentary as much as anything. And I don't think he's going into it with those lofty goals all the time necessarily.
Right.
But it is, from my perspective, sociologically, it's fascinating to watch.
He's brilliant at this, right? Because think about this. Even after a judge with 25 years experience delivers transcripts, documents, 3 weeks of just deliberation, people on the internet will say, oh, let me see what she said.
Yep.
I'll disregard that. But did you see what Robert Kraft said on Twitter?
No kidding.
They don't. The facts.
People go looking for something to support their side.
Absolutely.
It is horrifying that we can't come to a common ground on relatively anything. Like, hey, the world is getting a little warmer. We might want to. Can we acknowledge that? No.
Yeah.
No,
So I saw
not.
a funny meme once that said you could put anything on a Florida ballot, and the final result would be 50.1% to 49.9%.
Yep, no matter what.
Yeah,
no matter what it is. The sky is blue. No,
Right.
it's not. It's gray. And
Right.
so, to your point of the common ground thing, you're right. It almost seems like whatever the topic is, and the problem with the internet is that voices become amplified.
Yep.
So, in a whole Twitter sale debacle, we learned that Twitter claimed that they had 330 million accounts. And they had said in the papers in the sale that it was fewer than 5% of those accounts were fake. And then when Elon Musk got to kick the tires and his engineers got to go in and look, the number that he was using was, we're finding that 22% of them are fake.
Which Twitter disputed.
They did
To be
immediately.
fair, they both had their own engineers.
So I don't know if it's 22% or if it's 5%.
Because we don't have
split
engineers.
the difference.
Okay.
We don't have engineers, and I don't understand that stuff. Let's just say that there's 15% or 12% that are
Right.
fake. That I guess would be somewhere in the middle. So if you take that into account, then there are fewer than 300 million real people on Twitter. There's more than that in the United States, and Twitter is a worldwide social platform.
It's 8 billion people in China.
So yeah, and so when you look at the total number of people in the world relative to the Twitter users, it's a relatively small percentage. The people that actually use Twitter once a month, that number is also in dispute, but one of the numbers is less than 50%, which means there's 150 million active Twitter users monthly. We jump on social media, and when we see things trending, we think everyone is saying. Everyone is not saying anything.
A vocal minority is controlling the conversation for the whole country.
They are.
So we look to
and
those
it seems to be the fringes, those that believe that he should be in jail and should never play football again, and those who say he did nothing wrong, he should not be suspended.
Those women owe him an apology.
So those are the fringes, right? Those are the extremes.
And the judge eloquently put out why you shouldn't use public outcry to determine
Yes, and I thought she did a great job with that.
Precedents. Doing this.
Go into that, G. Bush, for those that didn't read it.
Doing this, like she gets to it. I'll read it for you guys.
Because I thought
I'll read it for you. You hear this?
I thought that was the best part of her entire decision.
So she comes here and she says, so this is in her conclusion. This is available for everybody. The NFL may be a forward-facing organization, but is not necessarily a forward-looking one. Just as the NFL responded to violent conduct after the public outcry, so it seems the NFL is responding to yet another public outcry about Mr. Watson's conduct. At least in the former situation, the policy was changed and applied proactively. Here, the NFL is attempting to impose a more dramatic shift in its culture without the benefit of fair notice to and consistency of consequence for those in the NFL subject to the policy. Now, what it's telling you is this. When you are using that type of justice system, you can't...
Gauging reaction.
Yeah, you can't... The point of what they want to do is to get people to change the behavior that they have, right? That's the point of corrective action.
Yes.
The point of corrective action for the NFL was just to see what the public wants and give it to them. That's not justice. That's not even an arbitration. That is a sham. And people now have gotten to the point where they believe that's the way it should operate. If enough of us loud people get together and say, for instance, the election was stolen, then it was. You see how this works? If enough people get together and say, those women said allegations and there were 60 of them, it doesn't matter what a grand jury says. It doesn't matter what a judge says. It doesn't matter what an arbitrator says. If there's enough of us and we're loud enough and we protest enough, then he is guilty of whatever we think he's guilty of.
And I think from the decision, that was what stood out the most to me, because she was kind of taking the NFL to task, and she was pretty much saying, the way I read it, stop trying to gauge public sentiment and media sentiment when you're handing out those decisions. That's not how justice works.
Can I ask this, though? That's really what stood out the most to you after reading this entire report?
It was, because I think, so globally, obviously all of the things that pertain to Deshaun, nothing in there surprised me.
I mean, here's one that stood out to me.
All right, what stood out to you?
Despite having access to a team-provided and approved massage therapist, Mr. Watson sought out private massages and, according to the NFL, quote, used his status as an NFL player as a pretext to engage in a premeditated pattern of predatory behavior toward multiple women, and she found that to be true. Like, I understand.
I think we all had come to that same conclusion.
But I'm saying the overall conclusion is a lot more damning than I think that people were acknowledging yesterday.
Well, I think that people that were immersed in it and knew what was going on, we all had said that we all had said on this panel, seems like he kind of had a kink, and he was using his NFL status.
We got Aditi. She wants to come in and talk about this.
Let's bring her in.
She knows more than we do.
After we talk to Aditi and Gene Smith, we will completely get back to this and talk about the biggest findings. We will dig deep into that. So
there's a lot left,
But Aditi is joining us now via the Gridiron Guys hotline. If you're looking for a local roofer you can trust, family-owned since 2003, the Gridiron Guys have grown to become Northeast Ohio's top-rated roofers. They exemplify quality work practices and are a valued resource for homeowners and offer a 10-year workmanship warranty. Call 330-573-7967 today for a free estimate or roof inspection.
We need a close-up of Mike Polk.
Gridiron Guys.
Sean on our style. All right. Bowser.
Yeah.
Well done.
Miss you, Bull.
Yeah, we do. We miss you, Bull.
Aditi, come in here and fix everything for us and make everything better, please.
Make us smarter.
I love how G sits there and says, because I know Aditi wants to talk about this. No, I don't want to.
Nobody
set you up, right? There you go, Aditi. Handle this.
Yesterday, I took this decision. I highlighted parts. I walked into an office of an unnamed person in the Cleveland Browns building and was just like, what do I do with this? How am I supposed to? It's just.
What do you do with it? What do you make of it?
Jay, I think that the point that you made about Sue Robinson, essentially former judge, federal judge Sue Robinson, placing the ball in the NFL's court is very, very key here. And while so many of her findings are alarming, the fact that she says she feels that the NFL produced sufficient circumstantial evidence to prove that Deshaun Watson knew such sexualized contact was unwanted. The fact that she says that I find that the NFL has carried its burden to prove by a preponderance of the evidence that Mr. Watson's conduct posed a genuine danger to the safety and well-being of another person. The fact that she says that she believes that Deshaun Watson showed a reckless disregard for the consequences of his actions. And then she says she feels hamstrung by what she can do because of the precedent set by the NFL. That's saying, okay, NFL, it's on you now.
Right.
That the parameters of what she's allowed to do, the punishment she's allowed to mete out is limited or is constrained by the way that the NFL has operated up until now. Okay, so now let's see what the National Football League does. Does the NFL say that, well, this is the process, and while we asked for more and we wanted more, we're going to defer to former federal judge Sue Robinson and perhaps look internally at what we can do in the future? Or does the NFL say, no, we want more, we're appealing this, we don't think this is right, and then potentially run the risk of the NFLpa taking this up to federal court and a whole lot more dirty laundry being aired? Could Daniel Snyder be deposed? Could Bob Kraft be deposed? Could Roger Goodell be deposed on the situations in Washington and with Mr. Kraft? The whole thing, again, the game isn't over. There's still quite a bit more to go with this, and I don't think anybody, I think the big headline here is nobody looks good, guys. You read this ruling, there's not anybody that comes out looking good from this.
Aditi, did you get the impression, as I did, after reading this report and reading her findings, that if she had the ability, she would have given him a much more severe sentence?
It's hard to, I hate the idea of speculating or putting thoughts in somebody else's.
Just your own perspective, because mine is that she did.
It sure seems like she went out of her way to say, this is what the NFL has done, this is what the NFL has done. And again, that one point that you're referring to, again, my highlighting, can you tell that I was an Ivy League student? She said, while it may be entirely appropriate to more severely discipline players for nonviolent sexual conduct. So while it may be appropriate, she says, I do not believe it is appropriate to do so without notice of the extraordinary change this position portends for the NFL and its players. So when I read that line, she's saying it wouldn't be a minor change for the NFL to punish players who have nonviolent sexual contact. It would be an extraordinary change for the NFL to do so.
So Aditi,
I mean, Mike, you are free to read into that what you want.
So Aditi, do you think that they will take this and then change that precedent 6 games and move it up to more? Maybe not for Deshaun Watson, but in the future.
Well, I think in the future you have to, right? And in many ways, the league has, in fact, sort of responded. Look at what happened after Ray Rice. And it's not only the league, but clubs. You know, the Baltimore Ravens came up recently after the Ray Rice situation. What happened with Jimmy Smith? And when he had an incident with the mother of one of his children. And, you know, Jimmy Smith is absolutely beloved in Baltimore, but the Ravens came down very hard after that and said they learned a lesson. So I don't know in this particular case if the NFL does indeed appeal and run the risk of what happens in federal court, but you'd have to think that the NFL will make some change going forward.
Aditi, one of the things that when I read that, what I thought of was, in essence, the NFL has established these sort of sentencing guidelines. And oftentimes in the real judicial system, in the real world, those guidelines exist, but you'll see judges go outside those parameters because they're just that. They're guidelines. The judge is free to do whatever he or she wishes. That's why I was somewhat surprised that she brought that up, and I think she's being fair to Deshaun Watson. To your point, you can't change the rules in the middle of the game. That's not fair.
Not my point, her point.
No, that's what I'm saying. No, I didn't say your point. I said her point.
Okay.
But you made that point as well. You just reiterated it. I think, to your point, that neither side looks good here. I think the league now, if they appeal, they're really appealing their own guidelines here.
Well, and this is the point, Jay, and it's funny you're reading my mind because I actually did text a friend of mine who is in the league office this morning, and I said, I don't understand. She says she's bound by precedent. Is she not allowed to set precedent? And I'll be very honest, I don't know the parameters of her as the disciplinary officer. I don't know what she is indeed constrained by. I don't know if she has the ability to kind of rip up the way things have been done before and indeed set new precedent, as you just said.
Aditi, here's my thought on that, as I'm kind of answering my own question, but as I was working this through in my mind yesterday, here's what I came up with. There should be no precedent. This is a new system for the NFL. That's what the NFL argued. That is indeed what the NFL argued. And I understand that argument.
Similar situation, correct.
Like, as far as precedent goes, there's a new sheriff in town. There is a new judge. So one could look at it that, well, there is no precedent, but they've changed their system of doling out discipline.
And that's exactly what, so this is exactly what she says. In fact, she says she's bound by, and she puts it in quotes, so this is clearly within the structure of what is demanded of her. She said, I am bound, quote, by standards of fairness and consistency of treatment among players similarly situated.
Right.
And then she says, as you just said, Jay, the NFL argues that consistency is not possible because there are no similarly situated players.
Right.
Well, there are similarly situated owners.
By ignoring past decisions because none involve similar conduct, however, the NFL is not just equating violent conduct with nonviolent conduct, but has elevated the importance of the latter without any substantial evidence to support its position. Now, that's a piece that I think a lot of people have trouble with. A lot of women certainly have trouble with, and it's kind of speaks to sort of the bigger deal of what is rape culture. You know, why does it really matter? Is force with a knife held to your throat and force just being force, are they really that different? That's essentially the question right there.
You're right. No, you're right.
One of the things that I look at in this situation is, I think a lot of people don't have a problem if you want to per se say, all right, we're going to be very difficult and hard-handed on this stuff. I look back and I think some of what she's saying is the league had an opportunity to set a tone. If they wanted to prove, what better way to prove that they really take this seriously than looking at themselves in the mirror and saying, as an ownership group, we have our guys, some people in our ownership group doing some of these same exact things. If they would have suspended or even had an investigation into Robert Kraft, or just even had the investigation or gave some sort of fine or whatever the case may be to Daniel Snyder or Jerry Jones, I think nobody has any standing to come back and say anything about Deshaun Watson.
Well, she makes that point, G, too. She calls out the commissioner. She essentially says the commissioner didn't do anything last year. I mean, I'll tell you before and I know that we're going to end up talking about this so much, and obviously we're still waiting to see what the NFL does. The NFL said yesterday that they're going to read the ruling, study the ruling, and then make the decision on whether they are indeed going to appeal the ruling. As you know, they have 72 hours from when the ruling was issued yesterday to appeal either to Roger Goodell or to his designee. And the Haslams and Andrew Berry, the Browns general manager, said they're just going to wait to really actually talk to the media until the process is fully through. I just think that the sad piece here is weighing how we do look to our sports figures to sit on a platform, to use their platform to perhaps set the tone for culture in some way. But we also look to sports for an escape somehow. And the entire Browns organization right now is not Deshaun Watson, but all we're talking about in relation to the Browns organization is Deshaun Watson. Mm-hmm. We're not talking about this young wide receiver, Michael Woods, who might have a chance to make the team. Mm-hmm. We're not talking about this running back, Jerome Ford, this rookie who's catching the ball really well. We're not talking about the amazing things that Denzel Ward has done in the community. We're talking about Deshaun Watson and only Deshaun Watson. And that piece, just as training camp is starting and as many men are fighting for careers and their dreams, not that we shouldn't be talking about it, not that we should ignore the implications of what a professional athlete sets as a tone for society at large, but it's really disheartening to me. It's disappointing.
It is, because there are a lot of other things going on, and it's not fair to the other 52 guys. It's not. It really isn't. But
the fact that Ford is catching the ball isn't tearing us all apart emotionally and trying to get everybody we're not coping with that in a way that it's important to discuss this stuff. I hate talking about it too. We've got to grapple with it, unfortunately, and that's what people care more about.
Aditi, I know you have to go, and you're back tomorrow. In your last 30 seconds, and if you don't have a gut, that's fine too. That's an acceptable answer. Do you? I'm not asking you to predict what the NFL will do, but do you have a sense which way they would lean, appeal or not?
You know, it's a minute by minute thing. You know, sometimes I see it here and I think the NFL wants to just pass the buck, or it's very convenient. Not that the league wants to, but it would be convenient. Again, like I said earlier, to say we wanted much more. We are deferring to the process and to Judge Robinson and sort of avoid what could possibly be unleashed in federal court. And then another part of me says, no, the NFL says that this is a moment to make some significant change, or I don't have an answer. You know, I don't. I think it would almost, and I'm sure that Gene Smith doesn't want to answer this, but it would almost be, he's in a position of power. How do you possibly handle something like this?
Yeah, it is difficult.
You weigh sort of the greater good, but to Mike's point, like, there has to be some sort of healing. There he is. Is he going to make a face at me? I promise I'm not. Listen, I hate to put you on the hot seat, but...
Yeah, you just did, Aditi.
Thanks for doing the hard work.
Yeah, Aditi, you set that up for us.
We weren't going to ask him, but now that she brought it up.
Got that out of the way.
Hey, I don't operate in this space. This is not my world, so I'll leave it to her. And
you're good, Gene. You're very good.
Smart man.
Aditi, you're wonderful, too. We'll see you tomorrow. Thank you very much.
I know.
Keep that paperwork.
No, let's bring him in. The athletic director at The Ohio State University, Gene Smith, joining us now on the Ultimate Cleveland Sports Show. Yeah, you're right. It's not your space. We certainly understand that.
Nope. He said that nope means I'm not touching none of that.
Yeah, hey, you're smart, Gene. You're a smart man. First of all, thanks for joining us on the Ultimate Cleveland Sports Show. We have a ton of Buckeye fans, and we also we're proud to have a Buckeye alum. He's got his shirt proudly displayed today. So I'm going to actually let Tyvis Powell ask the first question. Oh. Ty, it's all yours, man. Yeah, absolutely.
My man. Good to see you, T.
You too. Hey, G, I want to let you know, before I ask you anything, I just want to thank you so much. You know, during my last year at Ohio State, you know, I remember you taking me to those events and, you know, having me get dressed in suits and talking to people and getting up on stage. You really prepared me for life, and I truly appreciate you for doing such a thing.
I'm going to applaud that.
I'm going to
applaud that.
You didn't have to do that. And
that's a nice moment.
That is a great moment.
But getting down to things, it's the Buckeyes winning it all this year. Let's just go right
there. There you go, T. Let's get real now.
Is my Buckeyes going to hold that trophy up this season? When you look at this team, obviously you wrote a check. You wrote a blank check and told them to go out and get a defensive coordinator, and they end up getting Jim Knowles. Do you think that right now is that money being well spent from what you've seen?
Yeah, last year and actually last couple years, it became evident. You know, we needed to try and make some changes in how we ran our defense. And you know, Ryan and I sat down and really before the season was over and then at the end of the season, and I told him, just go out and find the best, you know, because our players deserve that. Buckeye Nation deserve that. Just find the best. And he interviewed a number of people and came up with Jim. And I think we're going to be better because of it. Jim runs the defense. And there are times when Ryan, who is an outstanding offensive coach, really had to found himself working on the defensive side of the ball. And I want him to work on his wheelhouse. And his wheelhouse, besides leading the overall program, is offense. And so he needed a guy that ultimately he could turn to and say, run it, get it done, and solve our issues. And as you know, Tyvis, we have unbelievable talent. Mm-hmm. And a coach's responsibility is to put the players in position to win. And so Jim is a good one. I think we'll be better. We have a great deal of talent. So now I think they'll play loose and free like they should be able to play.
Mm-hmm. You know, Gene, there's a lot of expansion going on right now. It's expansion in college football. It's expansion in terms of the Big Ten and bringing in big names from, the West Coast. I want to ask a little bit about the college football playoff a little bit. In your opinion, are you in favor of expanding that, and under what time frame or under parameters would you be looking to expand the college football player from a 4 to 8 to a 12 to a 16?
Yeah, I'm in favor of expansion, and I've always been in favor of expansion. It gives an opportunity for other schools to participate in something that is really special. I think we have history now. When we went to the 4 from the BCS to the CFP and went to 4, so we have some lessons learned. So I believe it ought to be 12, maybe 16. Some people are talking about that. I'm interested in that conversation, but it definitely needs to expand and just provide more opportunities for young people to chase the Holy Grail. And
that's sweet music.
Yeah.
We love that. Yeah. I think fans, more is always better.
Yeah.
4 was great. Why not expand it to 8 And beyond that, 12, 16, it's been done at the smaller levels of college football. Gene, this will probably be the most broad question you've ever been asked, but what do you think about the NIL?
That's funny. So, obviously I co-chaired the committee that actually brought NIL into our space. I've always believed in NIL. I believe back when Tyvus was playing, I believe that our student athletes should have an opportunity to monetize their persona. And actually, it's a great educational opportunity to help student athletes understand why they have to build their persona the right way, why they have to manage their social media platforms the right way. Taxes. And many of our student athletes had no clue about taxes. I used to tell them, don't worry about the NCAA, worry about the IRS. They've learned a lot about taxes. And so there's just so many lessons learned. However, I'm disappointed that we're in a place where the NCAA is not providing any oversight, and now we have inducements occurring with our recruits, and it's always been there, but now it's really emblazoned, and people are just bold about it, and we got to find a way to mitigate that. But largely, NIL's working. We have over 350 athletes on our college campus that have taken advantage of it, 1,250 deals. Average value is about a little over $2,900. And keep in mind, Tavis didn't have this issue. Many of our student athletes are on partial scholarship, so they leave in debt. Mm-hmm. So if you got a 25% scholarship, you got 75%, you got to pay for it. And many of them leave in debt. Now those kids can mitigate that debt, which is really good.
Gene, let me drill down on that concept that you talked about, the guardrails. Currently, the NCAA, when we look at it, doesn't have any infrastructure as far as teaching the young men, okay, what's a good deal, what's a bad deal, financial literacy, even kind of vetting some of these people that come into their space, getting them to try to do some of these deals. What is I guess some of the pitfalls in not having those guardrails, and what has Ohio State done in regards to trying to fill that space to kind of make sure that their student athletes get the education that they should deserve?
Yeah, and then we're not alone. Ohio State started prior to NIL being authorized in July of last year. We started our education then. We were already teaching financial literacy, but we took it up to another level. And so teaching them about contract responsibilities. So if you make a commitment to do so many Instagram stories and show up to X number of events, if you don't do that, you have a breach of contract, and the organization or company can claw back on what they pay you. So we've taught a lot of that. We hired 2 companies to work with us in teaching our student athletes, and a lot of our education has been for parents. I remember having a Zoom call with our parents and a gentleman by the name of Luke Feltman, who Tyvus, I'm sure, remembers.
Yes, I do.
He's always been a part of our education program. He's a local lawyer. Now he has a big company. And so I had the parents on the Zoom call because all of our football players, none of them ever paid taxes. They were dependent on their parents' taxes. And so we had to get the parents talking about this with their athletes. So we've done a lot of education in this space and really, really focused on making sure they don't do too long of deals, do 1-year deals, vetting agents and management companies. So we've done a lot, but we're not the only one. There's a lot of schools in the country that do what we do. Unfortunately, there's a lot that's not, to your point.
Yeah.
Mr. Smith, you don't just oversee football. What's an Ohio State sports team that doesn't get enough attention and affection from the public right now that you think deserves more?
Wow. We have 36 of them. So you put me on the spot. That's serious. That's the real hot seat. Because my coaches might see this, so I'm gonna have to say all 35 of the others.
Such a diplomat. Wow. Hey, listen, you don't get to his position in life and you don't spend 17 years as the athletic director at, in my estimation, the best university in the United States, unless you're a smooth politician.
So I got to go see. I got to watch co-ed fencing.
Yeah. Hey, I'll tell you what, all you guys need to come down here and go to synchronized swimming.
All right, I'll give
and
it a
then we're gonna put you in the pool with them.
That's not happening, Gene.
I do have one more thank you for you too, as long as we're being grateful for things like Tyvus did and everything. I went to Kent State. And I want to thank you on behalf of not just Kent State, but all MAC schools that you bring in to play on your homecoming game to murder in front of everyone. Mostly because we could really use the money, and I really do appreciate it. It's a nice chance to go to a stadium. So thank you.
I have a huge affinity for the Mid-American Conference. Obviously, I grew up in Cleveland, and I've always really focused on MAC schools, including Kent. I remember back in the days when Jack Lambert and Larry Poole, all those great ones at Kent. But I cut my teeth at Eastern Michigan University.
Nice.
I mean, that's where my blessing occurred, where I found my career path at Eastern Michigan for 10 years, 8 years as athletic director. So I have a huge affinity for the Mid-American Conference. It's great football, great coaches, great institutions, and we need to do everything we can to prop up the Mid-American Conference, as well as the FCS schools.
Gene, to that point, I'm glad you brought that up. I'm a Bowling Green alum, and the gentleman next to me, G. Bush, is an OU guy. So with MAC is well represented here. As a Bowling Green grad myself, I have a huge concern about the future of college football at a school like Bowling Green or Miami, OU, because what is happening in college football is the rich are getting richer. There's been reports that I want to ask you about in a second about perhaps Washington, Oregon, Cal, and Stanford even joining the Big Ten. You're getting these huge conferences, and I'm wondering how the MAC and how some of these other tweener conferences still exist in that landscape. What is your vision of the future there?
Yeah, first of all, we need a new governance structure, and I believe one of them could be underneath the umbrella of the college football playoff, with all 130 FBS schools. Those schools, like the Mid-American Conference, who make a commitment to provide 85 scholarships in the sport of football. So you create a governance structure for those programs. And then when the college football playoff expands to 12 or 16, whatever it is, the college football playoff generates $500 million right now. It'll probably generate another minimum $500 million, if not more. So you look at that funding and you try and help the Mid-American Conference schools. Yes, we have to have standards. So the medical, for example, if you're at Kent and you get injured in your senior year, then the university needs to take care of you for the next 2 years or so until you recover. But right now that doesn't happen in a lot of places because of funding, to your point. So how do we help those schools do that? You do that through the additional revenue that will be generated, hopefully, by the college football playoff. And then the other conferences need to continue to do what we do and pay larger guarantees if necessary. So we got to find ways to help them. So I think the Mid-American Conference and schools like that matter. But let's be clear. At the end of the day, everybody where they are needs to focus on where they are. I never forget about my time at Eastern Michigan, where many of my coaches were talking about what Michigan State did or what Michigan did. I kept telling them, look, if you want to compete at that level, you go get a job at those schools. I want to be Western Michigan. I want to be Central Michigan. I want to be Toledo. So the Mid-American Conference needs to make sure that they're strong together and focus on MAC championships.
Interesting.
Mid-American Conference championships. Yeah. If they jump into the CFP, great. But don't lose yourself. And that's where we find ourselves sometimes, is we lose ourselves trying to be somebody that we're not. Mm-hmm. There's always been a gap, man. There's always been a gap.
Yeah.
Ohio State has always been different than Kent or Akron or whatever. It's getting bigger, no question. But let's not lose ourselves relative to where we are.
I like how you talked about losing yourself and, remembering where you came from. It brings me to the first game of this season. Now, we all know that you are a former Notre Dame defensive end, but current Ohio State AD. So, with that being said, I know where your heart is. Who's going to win that game?
Well, Buckeyes are going to win that game, and that's what it's all about, man. But, I love my alma mater. I was blessed. I learned so much there. I still can't believe I had an opportunity from the east side of Cleveland to go to South Bend and get a degree there and compete at the highest level and win championships. It was a blessing. But when it comes to competition, I cheer for them, except when we play them. And I don't care what sport it is, tennis or volleyball or whatever. I want to spank them.
Good. I like that attitude. I like that mentality. Gene, I brought it up a little bit ago. USC and UCLA bringing West Coast flair now to the Big Ten. And there was a report last week that there are also some discussions, perhaps Washington, Cal, Oregon, and Stanford, which would pretty much lock up the entire West Coast being in the Big Ten. What can you tell us about those discussions? Are they real? Is this imminent? Where are we?
I can't tell you anything. No, I'm just kidding.
Hey, nobody said anything about USC and UCLA, and all of a sudden we looked up and there was this huge plume of smoke over the college football environment. How did we miss all
That's
of that?
How it happened. That's
you
how
guys
it happened.
are good, man. You guys are tricky good.
But no, we've over the last probably 14 months, as we prepared to get into our television negotiations, and ultimately once we got into them, we talked about a lot of schools nationally and which schools actually moved the needle for us relative to a television package. And USC and UCLA were obvious. Now we're in the top 3 television markets in the country. And of course, Notre Dame moves the needle as well. We have not discussed in any real detail the other schools. Obviously, if we get approached, then we'll have to respond to that. But right now we're pretty comfortable with where we are. That's not to say something might not happen. It could possibly happen. But right now, we're not really focused on that.
Is the big fish Notre Dame?
Yeah, obviously. They're a school that any conference would accept. They cherish their independence, and I understand that. But they do move the needle from a television point of view. And for us, they fit our footprint. They're not an AAU institution like USC and Southern Cal are, and the other schools in our league, with the exception of Nebraska. However, their academic status is significant, and so we think that they would fit.
Gene, and I'll ask you this question: in 10 years, how many major conferences do you think will be?
It's hard. Really hard to say. It's hard. Our television contract goes out to 32. The ACC goes out to 36, and, just go from there. A large part of this is driven by your opportunity to enhance your television package and generate more revenue. So I just don't know. It's a hard one. It really is. I think in most instances, conferences look at it that way. How can we enhance our television opportunities and generate more revenue? So I wish I had a crystal ball. I'd probably be doing something different if I could answer that question, but that's a hard one to answer.
Are you comfortable at 16 right now in the conference, just at 16?
Yeah, I'm comfortable at 16. Okay. Yeah, I'm comfortable at 16. If we went to 18, I'd be fine with that too. I think it could work. It's all a matter of making sure, first and foremost, we come up with a scheduling strategy to mitigate wear and tear on the student athletes. That's it. That's, Tavis, you remember those night games, flying back and getting to your crib at 3 o'clock, 4 o'clock in the morning. That's the real bottom. That's the deal. I think about that stuff all the time. And so we got to make sure we do that. And then secondly, fit. I'm big on culture, big on fit. Schools is going to do it the right way. And we do it a certain way in the Big Ten. And certain things are important to us. And so we're going to you got to find schools that fit. But I'm good with 16. I could jump to 18 if we had to. So we'll see.
Gene, you brought up the wear and tear on the athlete, which is the commodity in all of this. How much consideration was given to the travel wear and tear that the two West Coast teams that are now in the conference are going to have? And not just football and basketball. You're talking about softball, volleyball, all of these other sports now. For SC and UCLA, just about everything is a major road trip now.
Yeah, it's so critical. And I was actually surprised that they wanted to do this with their Olympic sports, because it won't be football that will be the big issue. It'll be the Olympic sports, to your point. So I'm concerned about that. We have to really come up with a good scheduling philosophy and planning assumptions that mitigate that to a great degree. You bring your softball team out this way, and maybe you play two Big Ten teams and you're back home, and as opposed to come here and playing 3 games against one team, maybe it's 4 games against 2. I mean, whatever it is, but we got to find a way so they're not hamstrung with traveling east as much as we think they might.
Jen, let me ask you this: we talk about NIL, right? If somebody came to you today and said, "Hey, if you had to pay, based on the structure today, if you had to pay a stipend from the university directly to a player in basketball and football, would it be financially feasible?"
Yeah, for certain level schools, not everybody, right? So to your point, here we go. So right now, a student athlete receives room, board, books, and tuition, and that's the old model that made no sense, and we needed to change that. So we ultimately added cost of attendance. Okay, so you get that $3,500, $3,800 on top of the normal scholarship. Now, what's been added is the Austin money, which is $5,980 that you get. Okay, so that's on top of your cost of attendance.
Must be nice.
So here we divvy that out in 4 checks. But then, to your question, I don't see an issue with if we said we're going to pay in your scholarship model the rights for your name, image, and likeness for the athletic department and the institution to have access to for these things. Maybe it be memorabilia, it be TV, promotional opportunities, whatever it is. I don't have a problem with that.
And Gene, that would be collective then, right? So all of the players would benefit from that, not just the few upper echelon athletes that are currently getting the NIL money.
Walk-ons as well?
Exactly right. Now, here's the issue. What we can't get to is student athletes being employees. I am against that 100%. If that happens, I'm out. At the end of the day, I do not want to treat our student athletes like employees. I would like it to be like a stipend, like was said, and so it's a part of the scholarship model. I see it as educational. I really do. We cannot lose our focus on the academics, getting your degree, and then all the life skills lessons that you learn through sport that we focus on. So I'm passionate about that. If we turn into employee-employee relationship, I'm out.
Yeah, I think a lot of folks in your position across the country have the same feeling. We have time for 2 more questions. I'll ask one, and then our producer McNuggets has one for you. Don't ask about the nickname; it's pretty complicated.
Ryan Day came up with it.
You guys can't leave me hanging like that.
Ryan Day co-signed it.
Yeah, he did.
Coach, Gene, we'd be remiss if we didn't get you to talk about the Cleveland sports scene. So, a young guy growing up in Cleveland, I'm curious to know where your professional sports loyalties lie, how you watch the Browns, Indians, Guardians, Cavs. Like, how is that carried through your life? Are you even a Cleveland sports fan?
Oh my God, I'm a huge Cleveland sports fan. I'm a Cavs fan. I'm a Guardians fan. I'm a Browns fan. No, I played with the Cavaliers when they first started. I drove out to Warrensville Heights High School because they had the best basketball courts, and I played against Wesley Walker. I mean, back in the day. I mean,
wow.
So I love the Cavs, and Austin Carr's a good friend, and So anyway, I'm big on supporting. I watch them on television all the time. I periodically get to a Cavs game. I can't get to Browns games. It's really hard for me on Sundays after our games. But I support them big time, and I'm hoping that things get really good for each of those teams. I love the fact that the Guardians went on a hell of a run.
Yeah,
unbelievable.
Yeah, they're just a game out of first place.
Yeah, I just love it. So I'll follow them. I track them.
Very good.
Good.
All right, McNuggets, you're on the hot seat.
Oh boy.
McNuggets. Does that have to do anything with? Is it McDonald's McNuggets? Is that what it is? What's the deal here?
It is.
It's a long story, Gene.
When you come
I
back,
could go a whole lot of ways. If you guys leave me hanging, my mind just goes in a lot of
terrible places. Yeah.
A nickname like McNuggets in Cleveland.
Right.
when you come back, that means you have to come back. We'll tell you the full origin story of McNuggets, Gene. But 2 weeks ago, I went down to Columbus with Tyvis for Cardale Jones softball, charity softball tournament. And Tyvis gave a nice little story about you beforehand and how you helped him. So I want to actually pull this video back up. I want you to watch a minute of Tyvis playing softball, Gene. And let us know if you believe that he could have gone pro in baseball. Because after this performance, he told us that had he decided to play baseball, not football, he could have gone to the major league. So let's watch about a minute of this. And Gene, I'd love your reaction to Tyvis in this charity softball.
Straight face.
Trying to go perfect, do my best J-Ram, Jose Ramirez impersonation. Wait till everybody get on base and then just go ahead and grand slam the thing. Flip the bat, take the shirt off, throw a party out there. You know how I do. Hell no! Come on, man. Hey, Ray Charles can see that hit man was saved. I can't believe, throw me out the game. All my life I played first base, but then I got fast and went to the center field. Let's shoot. Guardians, if you need one, come on, baby. I got the looks. I'm hitting, catching, outfield. Come on, man. ATH. I see you with the face paint. Where can I get that at? I'm trying to get some for the game.
I'm an athlete. I never played baseball, ever.
But you can golf.
I hold on to the club.
This the one. This the winner right here. Yard. Easy. Look at that.
Oh, impressive.
Thank you, Gene. Easy money.
That's a weak flare to center, Gene.
Easy money. Gapped it.
He found some green.
Oh,
Bobby.
my God. Bobby.
He beat it out. Get the hell out the way.
Oh, my goodness.
Just make
I'll be a lot of Bengay after this game.
Icy high.
That boy got on off an error.
Oh, look at Terrence Kyle.
Yeah, get back in shape. Sheesh. Straight out there, home run. How about that? I'm calling anybody that's listening.
All right, good.
I guarantee home run. That's where I'm at. Thank you.
I love the arrogance. I love the arrogance.
Oh, boy. There's a man with confidence right there now.
Gene, he does not lack confidence.
All-star performance right there, I must say. I mean, Gene, if I would have took it as serious as I took football, definitely. I'm not gonna say I would have went first round, but I definitely would have.
That man.
Definitely.
Oh my Lord.
Me and Jay lining it up. He gonna pitch to me. I'm gonna take him over the fence.
Yeah, that's laughable. That's very
We'll
funny.
give you A for effort. As always, we'll give you A for effort because you always had that effort.
That's for sure. Hey, Gene, we can't thank you enough for the time. I know your time is very valuable, and you gave us 30 minutes of it. Thank you very much for joining us on the Ultimate Cleveland Sports Show. We'll be calling on you again if that's okay.
All good, man. Take care of my hometown, man. Love you guys.
We always will. Gene Smith, athletic director of The Ohio State University. And, guys, when you go back to, I think 2005 he took over, 5 or 6, I can't remember. I think it was 05. And you look at the growth of Ohio State athletics, particularly what he's done with the football program, they're in good hands. They're in good hands. And I think he's done a marvelous job guiding not just the football program, but the university's athletics as a whole. It's incredible what he's done.
I agree with you. Like I said, for him, it's more than athletics. Like I say, for him to come and grab me as a senior or my last year there and walk me through, teach me how to talk to people, how to network with people, speak at events, like that's something that he did not have to do. And he must have saw something in me, and he grabbed me by the hand and took me on to do those things. And it's helped me in my life now that I'm so much better.
And how many others do you think he did the same thing?
It was a bunch of us that he did that. So I'm not just the only one.
No, but it's interesting that, you know, he's making time for a host of athletes that he sees perhaps the ability to speak publicly. He recognized right away your confidence level. And someone of your confidence level should be in front of people.
Yeah.
And it's thankful that he takes the time to help out all the athletes that he has.
We're glad you don't stink at this because of him. I guess, right?
Exactly. It'd be his fault.
Yeah.
It would technically, it would be.
Yeah.
Were you shy before your senior year? Did you have a problem doing that? I can't imagine you ever not being completely confident in front of groups.
Well, I'm naturally shy.
Are you really?
Naturally, yeah, I'm shy.
Yeah.
Like if we go to a speaking event, unless you came and talked to me, I wouldn't like sought out to see talk to people. But I don't have a problem talking. Once you started, it's on.
Oh, no.
we know that.
Yeah, we know that. We're glad.
Yeah, no arguments here.
So I think the big news nugget, McNuggets, was the fact that you want to get the Juan Soto thing, don't you?
No, we have different breaking news that actually could be tied back to the Deshaun Watson stuff. So we're going to take this tweet here in a sec. The Dolphins will forfeit a first-round pick in 2023, a third-round pick in 2024, and owner Stephen Ross has been suspended through October 17th of 2022 after a league investigation into tampering, into possibly getting Tom Brady to retire as a ploy, to then bring him on. So I'm going to ask you guys this, because Bo put it in the group chat. I think it's a great point.
That's so great.
Is the NFL doing this today
Of course.
to show
Yes,
that they
are.
Absolutely.
Yes, they are.
Yes.
First thing I thought when I
possible appeal of the
The
Deshaun
timing
Watson
is
suspension?
pretty convenient.
it is the first thing I
my
thought.
God.
Oh, now you're going to clean up your house.
Oh, God.
Well, if that's the case, they got some backtracking.
Oh, they got a lot of
That's the
backtrack.
case.
Because you know what? That's all good, but that's not Jerry Jones.
Yeah, you got to throw.
That's definitely not Robert Kraft.
You're going to open this door, you got to go all the way through.
Robert Kraft is on a jet ski to Cuba right now. Trying to get to international waters.
That's a visual.
He's trying to get
Does he
to
have a tie on?
That news came on his phone. He said, let me get up out of here.
You're on that cocaine cowboy jet ski down there in Miami. He's out of here, bro.
If they're going to do this, and if they're going to do the Dolphins owner like that and backtrack and get everybody else, if they want to get Deshaun in the process,
I will say though, this isn't
wouldn't be
backtracking.
mad
This is
about
a new.
That's a new probe. And if they really wanted to get to it, hey, call up Flores. I'm sure he'll talk to you. You gonna get that probe?
Well, when I saw the breaking news in the Dolphins, I thought it was.
that's
Flores.
what I thought it was Flores.
Now they're gonna.
I was gonna be like,
They don't want no smoke on that one.
But you know what? It'll be curious. I'm curious to see if they do go there. On their own.
Yeah, if they do, that's brilliant.
They might.
It is brilliant because they say if all this is going to come out in public,
we might as well get it now.
Some sort of discussion.
Yeah.
But does it change your thinking at all on what the NFL is going to do here, appeal or not? Because I have been in the camp of they're not going to appeal. But all of a sudden,
I feel the same way.
I think that the tide might be turning because. Dude, if they start dropping breadcrumbs.
Gee, I'm sorry. I feel what Jay talking about.
No.
I do.
See, here's what I feel like that's a good idea, but in principle, any good lawyer would tell you you don't want that because you know what I'm going to do. Okay, well, you know what the next steps is. Let's go ahead and get this lawsuit popping. I'm gonna go to court, and when I go to court, I'm going to do something that Congress couldn't do. I'm going to do something the league couldn't do. Mr. Kraft, can I talk to you about
Sit down and answer some questions.
Under deposition?
Exactly. And Daniel Snyder.
And Daniel, can I talk to you about this, and these are going to be public. You got to understand something. And then they're going to say, matter of fact, can I get that whole hard drive? Can I get that? Can we look at the Colin Kaepernick?
The 600,000 email from the Washington Redskins, which led to John Gruden getting fired.
Bring that back.
That was all you found?
That was it was only one person.
You opened up a can of worms.
So it was only. I mean, it's
but
hard
they could be selective about which ones they go after and which ones they don't. Like obviously they're willing to go after somebody.
Yeah.
Well, it's interesting to me that this isn't a sex-related thing.
No.
This isn't a legal thing. This is
why it's picked.
skirting league rules.
That's why it's picked. So So I don't think they necessarily have to bind themselves to putting people on the record.
Does it change your thinking on whether or not the league would be more likely to appeal that this comes out, the timing of this, G. Bush? It's not an accident.
I still totally agree with what Aditi said earlier, and that this is a minute-to-minute thing. I think that they are floating this out too, and this is still part. They've still got two days.
Yeah.
This is like Nick Nolte 48 hours now. Okay.
Tomorrow we're going to drop some Redskins breadcrumbs.
Now they're going to see how we react to this, maybe, because I think it's that. I think it's probably that fluid.
Hey,
I really do.
I tell you, for me, I'll look at it like this. If they want to, all of this, if it's going to cause owners to have to go and actually have to go talk to investigators and be on the record for stuff, they're going to come to him and say, listen, Roger, get rid of the story. The woman gave him 6 games. I'm not going to be up here. I'm trying to get my life back. They forgot about the whole thing in Jupiter, Florida. And by the way, if you look at Gruden, right, how many people usually are racist by themselves? Usually it's not. If you say something that's kind of a borderline
like alone
joke.
At home in a mirror?
Yeah, like you're not doing that alone in the mirror. Like if you have Gruden saying that,
right.
Who else do you have saying?
Right.
Oh, well, that certainly isn't a one-off.
Yeah, that ain't a one-off.
No. Well, even in society, like, I don't know what the percentage is, but whatever the percentage is in society, it's likely mirrored in the NFL.
Yeah.
Yep.
And it's likely mirrored in Major League Baseball.
It's like a locker room. That's like if you go to a locker room and you told a player, even this is college players, if you go back and think about it, they say they got tapes of somebody doing something improper that's really going to shake the world. You go back and say, what year is it from? Mm-hmm. Is it was I there?
Yeah.
Exactly. Start thinking real quick.
Sure.
What was I doing?
What kind of language was I using at that time?
Well, guys, how many people would pass this test? What if I dig into your email for 10 years?
Oh, come on.
What if I dig into your text message? Guys, that's where we are.
Yeah.
John Gruden was fired for sharing opinions when he was a non-league employee that went back 10 years.
Right.
So I don't know that anybody wants that standard being applied to them.
No.
So what was odd to me about the whole Washington investigation, they're looking for improprieties from the owner. And what is clearly, and I think everybody would agree with this, there's been a toxic workplace environment there for a while. The result of their digging into 600,000 employee email was a non-employee got fired for things that he would definitely not want public. But what about all the other stuff in the investigation? He was the only one that said anything
bad.
And by the way, this is how Roger Goodell operates. You know what he called Roger Goodell in those emails.
Yes.
Right. So you think that was just bitterness right there?
I mean, what do you think it was?
I don't know.
He's the only collateral damage?
Maybe his was the only thing that rose to the occasion of being considered that problematic.
I don't want to.
I doubt it.
I don't want to get to the full conspiracy theory thing, but I'm saying though, man, what is your opportunity cost? Is it worth it to get 2 more games? Is it worth it to get 2 more games for people who are going to forget about it anyway at the beginning of the season?
That's a very good point,
That's
G.
actually
Bush.
a very
That
good
is a
point.
great point. So, in trying to sway public sentiment, which may or may not be the pervasive thought in the public space, is it really worth having to go through disclosure on a myriad of other issues that the league is certainly going to be embarrassed by to get 2 more games?
Well, let me ask
Who says they're going to open themselves up to that?
They will. So the league, when the league files a lawsuit in federal court,
right,
they're going to say, was he punished fairly in terms of the way your owner, when you've done investigations to your owners?
Right.
Obviously, none of that was leaked to the public because there was only one side of it. John Gruden's lawsuit, by the way, was rubber stamped by a judge that, yes, it can indeed move forward. Flores, same thing.
So
these things are going to come into the public space unless the NFL writes a couple of really big checks. I think John Gruden's going to get a huge check.
Okay.
Be quiet, go away, and none of the other Washington stuff will be in the public space.
So if they appeal it, whether it's games or just to add a fine, they still open themselves up to...
The NFLpa has said, when they started throwing bombs, the NFLpa said very clearly, if we get a suspension that we're not happy with, when the process is done, they've obviously said they're not going to appeal Sue L. Robinson's decision.
Right.
They have already in the public space said, if you come after us for more than what we're given, we are going to file a lawsuit in federal, and that's where it comes in.
Oh, well, they got to sit
early.
They got to
The
sit this one
workplace
out then.
and the collectively bargain agreement. So what will happen is, as part of their lawsuit, the NFLpa's lawsuit against the league, they will bring up these other issues to see was Deshaun Watson dealt with in the same way that your owners
and they will
with.
get discovery. So that means they will get emails, they will get documentation, they will get all of that. Those are records. They have to.
And that will be
if that's the case, then G. Bush is right. It ain't worth the two
No,
games.
that's the main reason I've said they're not going to appeal.
Give them the 6 and keep it moving.
The whole NFL will get shooken and turned.
I don't want nobody in my email.
But why would they get discovery over things from the Washington investigation?
They're going to see if the league dealt out fair justice to Snyder.
And we're assuming that whoever is judging or whoever is overseeing this is going to accept that as relevant material.
Well, what they're going to argue is the player being dealt with in a manner that's consistent with other league employees, and because their own collectively bargain agreement adds the owners into that.
That was their snafu. They should have never put them in there. They never
should have put the owners
They should have
into
never
that.
put them. Now they're open to investigation that says, okay, well, you feel that this was fair and equitable. Show us.
Yeah. What did Snyder do to get nothing? Or a slap on the wrist?
What type of investigation did you have? Who talked to the people? What happened? Robert Kraft, can we bring him in? Why? He has a tape of something? All of these things are, and here's the thing. Nobody wants this. If they really want, I said it before, it's a class action lawsuit. They will point to the fact that the league effectively gave Colin Kaepernick an indefinite suspension, could not play for simply kneeling.
Well, they've already had to write Colin Kaepernick a check. They settled that lawsuit out of court.
Why is it
and that's the league's history, Mike. So when they get things that they're worried will become in the public knowledge, they write a check. They don't play. They don't want this out in the public space. I think if the average fan knew everything that was turned up in the Washington investigation, there would be a lot of questions pointed to the league.
So you guys are saying, though, the NFL players union, they have all the power right now, is what
I think they have the hammer. I wouldn't say all the power.
Yeah.
I think they have.
I mean, what you're saying is if the NFL has no say according to you guys right now, because if the NFL says we want to add 2 more games, the NFL Players Association has already said we're going to take you to federal court and we get to see all of your records.
Yeah, I'm
is
not
that
saying
what
they
you're
have.
is going to happen?
I'm not saying they have no say.
Okay.
I'm saying in the battle between the NFL and the NFLpa, I believe, I could be wrong, this is just my opinion, I believe that the PA holds the hammer because they've already made threats that essentially we'll burn this whole damn thing down over this. It's an odd hill to die on.
I've compared it to it's the last ditch effort. It's the nuclear option, right? It's assured mutual destruction. If you're going to do this,
if you're going to hit your button, we're going to hit ours.
We'll hit ours. And Aditi said it already. There's nobody that looks good in this.
Yeah.
Can you imagine that they're bringing other things into the spectrum?
And Aditi even said there's a lot of things out there they don't want to be into the public space.
Why isn't nobody talking about the Texans no more?
No, that's another part
of it. They'll bring that up.
No, listen, that's another part of it. They had 30 lawsuits that they settled.
Right? That's nobody, not on any news outlet is being talked about.
It's so difficult because I think what Sue Robinson is letting people know, we've been so used to getting justice on Twitter or social media where we feel like if we feel a certain way, that's what it is. She had to write down and said, listen, the reason I can't even really give him over 6 games is because you failed to basically do and honor your ruling when it comes to everyone.
Yeah, she said, I'm pretty much restricted by your guidelines that you've set. And what's interesting to me, and I'm glad that you brought that up because I wanted to ask you particularly this question. Mike, when I read the decision, I think the reason I said what jumped out to me was her sort of admonishing the NFL for trying to somehow gauge public perception as factoring public perception into justice. That's not the way justice works, and it shouldn't be.
It actually is in this case, though.
It isn't
because it's about the NFL's reputation, so that's their form of justice.
Right. However, unless you're going to do a scientific poll as to what the public really thinks, and they're not doing that.
Right.
They're sitting in Park Avenue right now, combing through websites, looking at the Washington Post, the New York Times, NPR, all of the big needle movers in media. They're also monitoring public reaction. That's not scientific.
No, but no one says it has to be scientific.
No, it doesn't
Any
have to be scientific, but
can hold their employees to whatever standards they care
That's not true.
But
that's not true. That's bona fide false. It's not true.
No, go ahead. In what way?
The fact when you talk, Ohio's an at-will state, right?
Right.
At-will applies to regular associates who are not part of a union that has a collectively bargain. Just cause has to be the burden of proof.
All right, listen, that's not the point. Here's what you're missing. I work for Tegna, and I've been told that I have to watch my tweets and make sure they're not too political.
Okay.
Right.
And otherwise, I'll be terminated.
Are you part of a union?
Yes, I am.
So you're part of a
I am, and I'm not allowed to do that. But because that is a company policy that they hold, and I have to honor it, or I have to leave. I don't have the right to do that, and I can't say I have my freedom of speech and I can say whatever I want. I can say it, but then they have the right to fire me.
Yes, you have the right to say it. They have the right to act however they want.
Yeah.
However, what I would say is different about this is when a judge in a court is not reading papers to see how do people feel. Jurors have specific instructions. Don't put your ear to the ground on this.
Right.
In fact, when you're seating a jury, they are specifically, that's why I'm always shocked that people get sit on juries. I'm like, are you people living in a cave?
Right.
Have you heard anything about the O.J. Simpson case? No. Where are you living?
Right.
How are you sitting on a jury if you haven't heard anything?
And should we really use your...
And are you the standard we want to
if you obviously are unaware of anything in the world...
No, that's a great point. But like when juries are instructed and seated, they're told specifically, don't listen to anything about this case.
But this is not a jury. This has nothing to do with a courtroom.
It's not a jury, but she's a judge.
So
she's a judge working not as a judge. I mean, she's working as a judge, but hired by a company.
As an arbiter.
Right. But she's going to...
So she doesn't have to follow...
She still has her methodology that she uses.
Yes, but she's not beholden
to a judge's methodology in any jurisdiction is not to, well, what's the public saying about this?
Right.
I understand why the company would be concerned about that, but they're not passing out justice here.
Yeah.
She is.
So I looked up something from labor laws, right? Labor laws in pertaining to unions.
Does it say I can tweet and talk smack on Trump again, or no?
Yeah. You can do that.
You can do that.
You can do that.
But Tegna also has the right to discipline you.
Union contracts usually include a reference called just cause. It's most often found in one of the following clauses for discipline, discharge, probationary period, personnel files, and management rights. And in other some contract articles, even if just cause is not explicitly in a contract, arbiters will usually apply the just cause standard anyway.
And that's what she's doing.
She's an arbiter.
That's what she's doing.
Now,
will usually.
Yes, usually, right?
So you notice there's wiggle room there.
There's wiggle room, right?
It's not mandated.
Now when we talk about...
And it's just like sentencing guidelines.
Now, these are her rules. This is what usually
usually
governs arbiters. It says equal treatment, where the rules and orders and the penalties apply even-handedly or without discrimination. The rules must be applied consistently to all employees. The application cannot be discriminatory or selective. If other employees who commit the same offense are treated differently, there may be evidence of discrimination, what is called desperate treatment. Also, if enforcement of a rule has been lax in the past, management cannot suddenly reverse course without first warning employees of tighter enforcement rules. Please go back.
And Aditi was talking about that.
And
I'm not arguing that.
But this is her ruling. She said, herefore, the NFL is attempting to impose a more dramatic shift in its culture without the benefit of fair notice.
Right. Changing the rules within the game.
So that's what she went by.
So I agree with all of that, and I think that in her ruling I think she explained why she did what she did very well.
Yes.
But there was a part of me, I'm going to be very honest, when I read the ruling, and we've discussed what he did, what we think he did. She has the benefit of all of it.
You think he should have got more?
Well, I think, and I it's not that I wanted Aditi to go there. I wanted her opinion on this. I think she wanted to say this. It was my opinion, after reading her opinion, that she would have given him more.
Yeah.
She found his behavior to be egregious.
100%.
Yes.
And what I have a difficult time as I'm trying to do the mental gymnastics on this, how do I justify that? I'm a Browns fan. I want to cheer. I want to be happy about this. I really do. I know we're a better team with Deshaun Watson on the field.
Yes.
What I was hoping for, the real win-win here for me would have been, I find no evidence that he made anyone feel uncomfortable in sexual settings. That's what I was looking for.
That's what I was.
I mean, the number of
this
games,
is not that.
No, we did not
Mr.
get
Watson's
this
pattern of
was
conduct
in
is
no
more
way,
egregious than any before reviewed by the NFL.
Yeah,
that's a hell of a line.
That was in no way completely exonerating
She
him.
basically
No.
said
She
that.
guilty
indicted
on all
him.
three counts.
She
said he
basically,
did it.
She said he's guilty on all three counts
Yes,
the NFL brought forward.
she did.
And this is the most I can give him given the parameters that you
And
gave
that's
him.
your fault,
So
NFL.
technically,
And that is the
technically,
NFL's fault.
Yes.
anybody want to be mad if
That's
they
so
should be
how
mad
do
at
you
the
feel
NFL.
about
In that
that,
way,
don't you,
she
Bush?
also gave the NFL an escape hatch because she said, these are the parameters you set. You can't just spring these things on players all of a sudden.
Right.
That wouldn't be fair to them. This is the most I can do, and that's the most that. And she gave them that out and didn't say, now you should give them more. She said that you can't just ask players all of a sudden to apply to new obey new rules that they were unaware.
But I think she's begging them to change their own
but
guidelines.
She gave them an escape hatch.
Definitely.
Yeah.
1,000%.
You think that too?
She definitely
Gee,
wants
Bush,
them to switch that
so
game.
where are you as a Browns fan? Because I know that you have been strong in the camp that the punishment should be lesser.
4 to 6.
Right.
I've always been on that.
So after reading that, her decision was what we all kind of thought, and what maybe we haven't even discussed on air, but when we're in private circles, we're like, oh, okay.
Yeah.
Something was going on there.
Basically.
She basically said, yeah, there was something going on. It was egregious.
Mm-hmm.
The NFL proved that there was egregious behavior going on.
Mm-hmm.
Are you okay with it's almost like it was thrown out of court on a technicality. Like, can you really boast we won? Or can you say
Well, nobody
won.
nobody won,
Nobody
but yesterday when we heard that it was 6 games, we all kind of went around the room and said this is a win for the Browns.
Well, let's be clear.
But you did feel kind of dirty
It
saying
still
that.
is a win for the Browns, but it's just ethically, it's like
I don't think
I have the same conclusion that I've had from get-go, right? And I've been, and a lot of people have disregarded, and she just basically said it. She said, look, I get it. If you're going to have these rules, stand up and hold everybody accountable. Mm-hmm. But when it comes to the accountability piece, we do mental gymnastics to vindicate people who have money in a position of power, and we don't do the same thing for people who are players that seem to be workers. The reality
Well,
is,
yeah, but let's not say Deshaun Watson doesn't have both money and power.
I mean, yes.
I mean, he's not.
Listen. That power that they got, that power that the NFL owners have is the federal government told me to show up, and I said I ain't doing that.
Well, isn't Snyder now?
He did after about 2 weeks.
Let me ask y'all this. So say the NFL came out today and says, you know what? We're going to switch this policy up. We're going to, Robert Kraft, you suspended for a year.
Well, you can't do it retroactively because they didn't know what the rules of the game were.
That's what she's saying. That's what she's saying.
So if I'm Deshaun, I'm like, I'm going to sneak on out of here and I got my 6 games. But I feel sorry for the next person.
That's what the next person's in trouble.
Now that's all I've ever said. I've always said,
and that's fair too.
It's
you
fair.
can't punish him.
You
can't change the rules in the middle.
Just because Robert Kraft, like you said, it was thrown out on technicality. Robert Kraft was on tape. They decided, or the courtroom, the court and prosecutor said, you know what? They obtained that illegally. They didn't do it the right way, above board. That counts. We're throwing it out. Bye. So
and without the videotape,
there's no case. So here's the thing: if I could understand in my mind as a human being, well, he probably did that, but it's a technicality. What I'm gonna do? What am I supposed to do?
There you go.
Now, if it's Deshaun Watson. And he paid off all the individuals, right? Even when you sit here and you say the Houston Texans paid 30 people, 30, and we still have not heard about where they are we having an investigation? She's proving it in real time. When we sit here and we talk about the players, we completely on the other side of the road say nothing. We won't even mention it. It's no stories about him. So the problem is this. If you're going to be about it all the time.
I agree with
that. From
that.
now on, if you want to get caught in sexual misconduct, you're out of here. That goes for owners and everybody.
Yeah, but the difference is Robert Kraft paid for sex to a sex worker one time that we know of.
Is that illegal?
Is
that illegal?
But they're different crimes.
No, hold on.
They are different crimes.
Those are the exact same crimes.
There's no victim in that crime.
Sex trafficking ain't your victims?
She's doing that of her own free will.
So hold on. Let's
here we go.
Let's be clear. Do we know the statistics about how many people that are in prostitution because they are getting trafficked?
There's studies that give you numbers, but we don't know. We don't know what her situation was.
So
we have no idea.
We have to investigate it.
So what I'm saying to you is this.
Please.
If you are in the policy, you are held to a higher standard. The reason people have to do gymnastics is because they can't say that was wrong and that was wrong. Both were wrong.
Crimes are different. Crimes are different.
Yeah, that's why there's sentencing guidelines.
And so
in real world and in the NFL. But what are the sentencing guidelines for the owner?
So zero.
Nothing.
We don't even talk about it.
Well, he paid a fine, right? Didn't he?
He was fined.
And what is he going to miss games? Did he not get to play offensive line?
They've taken forced
draft picks.
And they forced Jerry Richardson to sell the team.
I mean, those sound like some punishments, right?
I mean, prostitution is illegal.
Yes,
it is. If you are owner of a team and you sit at the top of the food chain, my thing is we can't. My problem here is in this country, and I'll give you this, and we'll continue to move on. In this country, the outrage that we get for athletes is over the moon. It's over the moon. Every single other person with so much more just clout, so much more importance, money, power, we don't even look at it. We sitting here talking about this again after, let's be clear, 2 grand juries. You said go to an arbiter. The arbiter gave him 6 games, and people still don't think it's good enough. My problem is I'm not about to sit here and argue for 2 more games when people won't raise their voice for rich people at a person. It's vets around here that can't even get aid. And people talk about, I don't know what to tell my daughter about Deshaun Watson. You sure you do.
Well,
You tell your daughter it's some crazy stuff out here. Stay away from people like that. There are wars out here. Guess what? You don't ever want to be part of them. It's a lot of crazy stuff out here. Athlete's job is not about raising your children. Stop putting it on that platter and be a man and man up and say, look, I got to talk and teach my children. Deshaun Watson ain't my daughter's son, husband, daughter, whatever the case may be. I'm the parent and guardian of my child. My child does what I do. He's a reflection of me, not some dude throwing a football. And when we can get that together and stop putting that on athletes and put it on the people that's in charge of laws, charge of the church, charge of the clergy, and they sitting here ripping, running, and getting checks every day, and we say nothing, I'm not about to continue to do it. Give the man his 6 games and keep it pushing.
I agree with all of that, but with the exception that you're making a distinction, rich people and not. Deshaun Watson is a person of means. Deshaun Watson wrote checks to make people go away. Mm-hmm. That's privilege. That's money. That's rich.
Yes.
Rich people have the opportunity to say how much you need.
Mr. Watson identified himself as a player for the NFL to initiate contact with a therapist, and he used his ties to the Texans to reinforce his request for massages.
That is using your influence.
That's using your influence.
And your power and your money.
Power in the NFL.
And so I don't want to. There are victims here. There are victims, and there are people that don't have money to hire a good attorney. Deshaun Watson has the best attorney you can buy. Deshaun Watson has money to write off all of the alleged victims and make them whisper and go away.
If Deshaun Watson had hooked up with one sex worker in Florida one time, and Robert Kraft
we would not be talking
had
about it
2
like this.
dozen allegations of sexual harassment from different masseuses,
Really?
then
that's a good point.
Do you really think we'd just be like,
players have been arrested for solicitation. It's happened often.
Colin Kaepernick got crucified for taking a knee.
Well, that's a different issue.
Very different thing.
That's a different issue.
No, it's not this. It's not a different issue.
Well, because there's no owner that got that took a knee and didn't get
you
crucified.
like to move these goalposts.
No.
Wait a minute. Let me tie it off.
Please, go ahead, tie this. Fix this up.
Back. I'm just going back to Jay's initial question. He said, as a Browns fan.
We started this with a question?
Yeah, he said, as a Browns fan, how can you be... How can you cheer the Browns?
How do you do that? How are you justifying it?
Right.
And
to me, honestly, what I think is He paid the people. He's doing his punishment, and it's like jail. It's like going to jail. You hope that they
and his reputation is tarnished.
You hope that they reform, and they come back and they learn from their mistake. He's been He's been punished. He's accepted as a punishment, and you just hope that he becomes a better person. Moving forward, everybody's going to watch him. How does he interact with women? He can't do the massage thing anymore because it's in the thing. He can't. He can only give. So I think with him learning that and realizing that he's failed, because this is a family thing. Like, his family's gonna suffer from this. Like, when his mom and aunts go out, they're gonna be like, "Oh, you raised that," and that as an athlete to have that on your family's name, that's terrible. So moving forward, I think he will be a much better person.
I agree with that 100%.
1,000%. When it comes to women, I don't think he will ever do this again, and I think he will show women the utmost respect moving forward. And I think that's the way that I
That's my hope, and I firmly
believe
that.
I am a person that believes in second chances, and a lot of people in America do not. But this man is going to serve his time. He's did what he's done.
I totally
agree. And he's going to learn. He's going to be a better person. We have to watch him, and we have to encourage him to do that. If we sit there and bring it back up, when you tear somebody down, they revert back to their past. If you cheered on,
especially when you take away the only thing they know,
the new behavior, it motivates them to continue to do that and be a better person. So I think that's how I'm going to do it.
Directly relates to this point. I would feel better about that if it weren't for this phrase in the report. He has categorically denied the allegations against him, including that he ever developed an erection during a massage. It is difficult to give weight to a complete denial when weighed against the credible testimony of the investigators who interviewed the therapist and other third parties. Would we all be better with this if at some point he had admitted any kind of culpability, which he still has not, and said, maybe I was inappropriate and I apologize to you? He has not yet.
So I 100% would be.
I don't think
and early on in this show's history, I had said what I wish he would do, and his lawyers will never let him do it. What I wished he would have done from the very beginning is say, I have clearly done things that have made others around me extremely uncomfortable. Things that I thought were okay and acceptable during the normal course of a massage for money. I was clearly wrong. I made mistakes. I sincerely apologize. This has made me a better person. I'm going to definitely change my behavior moving forward and think about others that are involved in this transaction and not just myself. His lawyers would never let him do that. I wish he would have.
Sue's big mad about his unwillingness.
Sue is big mad about
his unwillingness.
And you know what? She even made the point about him being untruthful.
Yes.
So he was caught in a number of mistruths.
Maybe that was a part of the settlement. Maybe when he was settling, he said, you know what, behind closed doors, it's an NDA, so we can't talk about it, but
I apologize.
Me to you, I truly apologize.
I sincerely hope.
And maybe he will once the final ruling comes out.
So let me ask you a question, and this is for everybody. So we've gone into this, right? And obviously we picked where Sue said certain things, and you say, okay, that makes sense. I picked some things where Sue said some things and said that's okay. So why is it that when her judgment came down, and she's the person who has heard the most testimony, seen all the documents, talked to both sides, why is it that people feel like they personally have more information than she does?
Well, because she confirmed what a lot of the detractors have been saying all along. That he was egregious.
But at the end of the day, that's her judgment and ruling.
Well, we have to trust that.
I can only go by what her ruling is.
Her ruling is saying I can only give this because of the NFL's
her ruling had an asterisk next to it.
That's basically what it is.
He's
guilty,
but it should be more.
It's essentially the Mueller report.
And I think that's the part
that's a really
part
good
that
comparison.
everybody's upset with. The fact that he is guilty of something. And remember, all it takes is one, but he is guilty. She never said that he was completely innocent. And I think that's what the problem is.
She said the opposite of he is completely innocent.
No, she said he was guilty.
Yeah.
She clearly says that.
There's never going to be cut, dry, clear, oh my God, you did this and we're going to give you this. At the end of the day, the process played out. The process was let her make her judgment, And even before I even knew what it was, I said it 4 to 6.
Right.
I think I was the first person to say before the Players Association. I said, you know what? Whatever she say, I'll stand on it.
You did say that.
And listen.
Weeks before.
And we have to. But the only reason I bring up what Aditi was saying was because I felt so much better about it until I read the report. Because, again, I was hoping that in the report the judge would say the league did not meet the burden of proof.
Yeah.
And therefore, I can't punish him for something that the league didn't prove he did. She didn't say that at all. No. In fact,
she said the opposite. She said he guilty,
she said
but I
they proved
on all I could do.
On all 3 counts, they proved it.
But because of your stupid system, NFL.
But because
so
you
the NFL, if anybody should be mad, it should be the NFL. They should be mad at the NFL.
But the NFL created this system, and they created it with
and now they can't be mad at it.
But they can change it and do whatever they want.
And they will.
And they will. To whatever suits their needs.
Yeah,
so the next person
it's a learning experience.
The next person that come up, because she's obviously going to be here for a while. It's not her first rodeo.
I think they announced a term for her position. McNuggets, am I right?
On Judge Robinson?
Yeah, it's not an endless position. Can you look that up? I thought when she was appointed that it was
not
for
like Supreme Court
for
justices.
a period of no, I don't think it's a lifetime appointment.
Everybody's mad.
I could be wrong on that. I remember reading it a long time ago, and as my memory serves, I thought she had a predetermined amount of time that she was going to be in that role. I could be wrong. Maybe they'll keep her until they don't like her anymore, and then they'll fire her. But I will say,
even that they're
mad at her this morning, yesterday, because she clearly points out when it comes to player discipline, the NFL gets an F-. Because not only have they been inconsistent, but they change rules. They put rules in place that they then learn later. Why'd we put the owners in that agreement?
I got a question.
Why did we never done that?
No, and they never should have put sentencing guidelines for nonviolent sexual crimes. Each offense should be looked at independently on their own. And if that were the case, and I think that will be the case moving forward, you can't punish Deshaun Watson because you don't like the rules that you made.
Right.
You made these rules. You made your bed. You got to lie in it. He gets 6 games.
Question. Y'all might have an answer. So why is it that she can find something, like make him guilty, but the 2 grand juries couldn't?
Well, that's civil and criminal. Civil and criminal is tough. The burden of proof is higher in a criminal case. So
but not to get charges brought.
Yeah,
so that's the lowest bar in the legal system for criminal activity. Is to get charges. But the saying is you can indict a ham sandwich.
He could have gotten indicted too.
You can bring charges against anybody. It doesn't mean anything until you're convicted.
And also, it's neither of those. Because it's a thing that the NFL came up with as an internal policy.
Right, it's not civil. It's not civil or criminal.
It's not. No. It is like a policy. Like if the station had a thing where if you leave your dishes out after you make like something gross in the kitchen, that you have to you have
to clean everyone's dishes for a month.
You got to clean everyone's dishes for a month. They could just do that because they are their own business.
It is arbitrary. It's their company.
Yeah.
And to your point earlier, you don't have the freedom of speech that you think you have. I mean, you do, but it's not without
results,
without some sort of reaction from your employer. For instance, it was told to me this way when a while ago, I said, "What happened to free speech?" And a lawyer said, "So let me ask you, do you think this is free speech? If your postman who comes to your house every day and drops mail, and who is representing the U.S. Postal Service and by proxy the government, if he comes to your house every day and as he's dropping off your mail, he says, I got to tell you, I think this capitalism stuff is for the birds. I can't believe we're not socialist." He has the right to say that.
Right.
But the post office has the right to fire him.
Yes.
If you go to McDonald's and as the restaurant worker hands your food through the window, they can say anything they want to you.
And they do sometimes.
McDonald's, and they do.
Yep.
And then McDonald's has the right to take action.
Yeah.
So I agree with that.
Is that freedom of speech?
No,
not really.
It's freedom of speech, but not without repercussions.
Right.
Like you can't yell
First Amendment
fire in a crowded
guarantee
theater.
you no consequences.
You don't get a consequence.
But you will be charged for inducing a riot.
And so I guess the equivalent of this is you can fire somebody for anything, but right. So if they say if you come to work late, you get fired, right? Jay comes to work late, he gets fired.
Yes.
The next day I come to late work, they say don't worry about it.
Yeah.
then guess what?
That is selective enforcement.
They can do that. And that's the problem. It's the selective enforcement to say, well, hold on. Well, he comes back and finds out that I didn't get fired. He could go get a lawyer. And
sure,
say,
I could.
Yeah.
Here's the problem. There is no guideline for getting massages from 66 women, and 24 of them claim that you were sexually aggressive towards them. And that's why
they can't be like, like when Johnny Unitas did that back in.
He only got 2 games.
Right. Yeah.
So I think, and that's absurd to think that you could come up with every scenario that they're going to be faced with.
Right. Yeah.
That's why I think guidelines should be thrown out the window.
Yeah.
If you want a disciplinary officer, you empower them to dispense discipline the way they feel is just for the crime. So if that were the case, and that probably will be moving forward, because now the league has already said, damn, we made another rule and we just got bit by it.
Mm-hmm.
So I think moving forward is they're going to say, we have a disciplinary officer who will hear from both sides, and she will decide what is fair and just.
So they taking that precedent and just ripping it out.
Well, to the point of precedent, I was saying this yesterday to someone, there is no precedent.
Right.
This is Sue L. Robinson's first rodeo. So I think the new world order starts with her first rulings.
As if nothing bad has ever happened in the NFL before,
Jay,
and you shouldn't have to consider that?
I cannot find anything that confirms or denies that she is hired beyond this one case. I'm not sure what her contract is, but we got to talk a little Guardians. The deadline.
Yes, we do. Well, first of all, we got to talk about Juan Soto's already been dealt.
Yeah, so let's
he's now with the
as
Padres.
the show is going on.
I ain't got
Juan
one of
Soto
him on the Guardians.
I did too.
Has been traded to the Padres. One of the biggest deals in history. Anthony, go to the next one. Check out the return on this.
Yeah, it's
That's
a
their
haul.
number 1 pitching prospect, their number 1 shortstop prospect, their number 2 outfield prospect,
So
their
they
number 4
got-
outfield prospect, and a bunch of guys we don't know. I think
Wait a
Eric
minute.
Hosmer is the major
Yeah,
league
but
player.
I will tell you that all of those names are prized possessions for the
Padres
prospects.
got Manny Machado, Tatis,
and Juan Soto.
Yes.
Oh,
And
man.
listen,
Picked up Harlan Susanna.
but you know what? They don't have pitch. I mean, you need
They don't
pitching
have
to win.
They ain't got no pitcher, but they
And
got some hits.
take it from a fan of the Indians in the mid-'90s. You can have Albert Bell and Jim Thome and Manny Ramirez. You better have somebody that can get outs in big situations.
Yep.
The question here, though, is for the Guardians.
Yeah.
Are they going to make a deal tonight? We got 5 hours and 15 minutes on the dot.
Ain't that on good,
Do they make a deal tonight?
Yes, I think they're definitely going to make a deal because they have an abundance of talent.
Isn't that our good bet, bad bet?
It is. It's part of good bet, bad bet.
I think they're. I go ahead, please. You know a hell of a lot more than I do.
I don't have any insight. I just
they
think
need to get the catcher.
I do think they're going to get Contreras from the Cubs. I hope. My hope.
Who did I say they was looking at?
You had said they were looking
Bradley. Yeah,
Bradley
from the A's.
I just they're a game out of first place, but more importantly, they're the game out of the wild card right now. And you are a buyer.
Yeah,
you have to be.
But the Guardians are in a weird space. They're kind of sellers too because they've got this glut of young talent at similar positions, and they don't know what to do with them. So what you do is you package them up and you go address your needs. Catcher, I still think we need another stick, and I'm not sure we're set pitching.
Are you giving up? Are you trading Fran Mill today?
Fran Mill
bumped him down.
There was a tweet earlier this morning that said
he
he'd cleared out his locker, and I think he's on his way to Columbus.
Yeah, there's nothing that's been confirmed on.
Yeah, they
I'm
haven't
going to see you, Fran Mill. I'm in Columbus. I'm going to see you.
There you
He's
go.
a boy.
Yeah,
you guys could have ridden down
my
together.
boy.
He'll sell tickets.
Made
down
him
to
feel
that
better,
stadium.
huh?
I don't know what's wrong with Fran Mill. I honestly
It's
don't.
sad. It's really sad.
It's a drag. He's it's so fun when he's good too.
I know, and
it's
he's
gone.
easy to root for.
Let's
And
go.
Is he good?
he looks like a lumberjack,
He's
but right
fun
now
when he's good. When he is hitting, he's fun.
He's
He's just a fun
frustrating when
player.
he
He's fun
not.
to watch.
I don't know if the Guardians got to make a deal, and I'm getting nervous that it's this close 6 o'clock, and then we ain't heard nothing. At least you hear rumblings. You ain't heard nothing.
No, I know.
And now it's like if they're talking themselves into thinking, hey, you know what? We didn't even expect to be here right now. You know what?
Man, that's a terrible mentality.
We young anyway. We'll figure it out next year.
No, that's
I
a
don't like
loser's
that.
mentality.
Yeah, I don't like that.
You are
going for
within
it all.
striking distance
Yeah.
in the month of August.
I agree, but they're all. I want them to make a deal. I don't know if they will. I said that they probably won't, unfortunately, based on the fact we haven't heard much. And I feel like they're not going to make a deal just to make a deal. Like that front office is not. They're not going to be like, well, if somebody's asking for the moon for that catcher, I just don't know if they're going to do it. They don't make those kind of swings.
Especially given the fact, and sometimes you think, like, look, just a little more development, we good. Let's see how much the kids can go down. We can play them out. We can look at them more, and then we can figure out next year which one of these guys in our farm system got to go.
You also said it yourself last week. You said it yourself just last week that nobody wants to make a deal with the Guardians right now because they get burnt, because they get fleeced. So who's like
they get fleeced?
That's true.
They don't know
that is true.
So I wonder if that hurts them.
It might. I think they're before they sign the papers, they're looking at it. Where are we missing? What are we missing?
Exactly.
What's going on? Mm-hmm. I will say this. I said last week, and I firmly believe it. Before you give away real chips, and I think that some of these moves they would be giving away real chips. Mm-hmm. Before you do that, you have to ask your question. It's like you're playing poker. Can I win with this hand? Mm-hmm. Can I win? And you also, unlike poker, you can look at everybody else's hand.
Right. See.
You know what the Yankees are holding. A lot of aces. You know what the other teams in your division are holding. Not a ton. Mm-hmm. But we're not in this to win the AL Central.
That's what I'm saying. So if looking at that, with that model right there, you see the Yankees' hands, you see the Mets' hand, you see these good teams. Are you saying to yourself, we really don't have a chance of winning the whole thing this year?
I don't know what they're saying.
So let's just keep our young chips.
What I would say is, you maybe.
That's what I would think.
Is next year the year to make our move instead?
And then maybe, it's because it is. An organization like the Padres, who literally just takes a big pile of money and just sets it on fire.
By the way, where are they getting this money from?
Listen, their owner has made the decision that I don't like being irrelevant. I want to win.
They definitely do that, though.
No, they do. I mean, when you look at the moves they've made, and by the way, when you look at how they're constructing their team, they're doing exactly what the Indians did in '95. We did it organically. Mm-hmm. We didn't trade for any of those pieces. We drafted them and developed them. We made some small moves to get some guys to enhance. But what the Padres are doing is saying, how much? Okay.
Right.
How much? No problem.
You heard
now,
who's good?
In the Juan Soto deal, the attractive thing about Soto is he has 2.5 years of team control. Mm-hmm. So San Diego is a team that could re-sign him because apparently they've got a Brinks truck. So they could possibly re-sign him, and maybe they would start working on a long-term restructuring deal with him. Maybe that is already underway. I don't know. But I want my team to judiciously make moves like this. I don't want to be willy-nilly San Diego and say, take them, take them. Like, that's like the drunk guy at the auction, who outbids himself.
Right.
And then he looks around and says, what did we just give up? What did we just do? When he wakes up the next morning and he's sober. I don't know.
That's been me at charity auctions, by the way. I have been at a charity auction.
I've done that a time or two myself. I don't want this package.
Yeah, why don't? Yeah.
How much did I give?
I have this thing signed by Doug Deacon. $700, and it's an electric guitar. That doesn't even make any sense.
The Padres is the MLB version of the Los Angeles Rams, where every time they sign these deals, I'm like, where is this money?
It is interesting.
This is ridiculous.
As a fan, I need the Guardians to do something.
Yeah.
Because here's the deal with baseball. At the end of the season, there are 12 teams that get invited to the craps table. Mm-hmm. The other 18 never touch the dice. I want to have the dice in my hands.
I'm loving all these gambling analogies.
I want to
like
roll
a Kenny Rogers song over here.
I want to see what they can do. Because last year, the Atlanta Braves, a week later than we are right now, we're under 500 without their best player. Acuna was out. And
with Ramirez.
They got a pennant that says World Series champs 2021 flying over their stadium in Atlanta.
All I know is, Jay, I would send everybody but Jose for the dude that's with the Angels. The pitcher, what's his name?
Ohtani. Ohtani's a different bird.
The whole roster.
By the way, Ohtani is on. There's a lot of talk that he can be had.
No, they came out yesterday and said he's not.
Oh, the Angels.
He off.
Oh, so they spit on that report because yesterday afternoon even there was a lot of speculation as here are the favorites to get Ohtani.
They were listening to offers according to reports, but that's it. But we got to do top 5 today, which plays right into this, which is the 5 best MLB trade deadline deals that have led to a World Series title.
And by the way,
there's not a lot.
There are not a lot of them
in
history.
I was shocked yesterday to find out how few of these actually lead to titles. The top 5 is only ones that led to a World Series.
Okay. Yep.
And as always, when we do a top 5, it's brought to you by Roundstone Insurance. Roundstone offers a better alternative for affordable quality health care. For more than a decade, Roundstone Insurance has been saving small and mid-sized businesses money up to 20%. Yeah, 20%. Contact us today to learn how you can get great health care benefits that your employees will love and save money too.
Roundstone, 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 Roundstone,
Cowboy. See, we got to get 2 things going at once.
Nice little harmony.
It's like the row your boat thing, you know? Okay, what's number 5?
We're going to run through these pretty quickly because we're up against the clock here. But number 5, pretty recently, Johnny Cueto got traded to Kansas City. He left after the season, signed with San Francisco, but won 2 games in the World Series, including a complete game, 1-run performance in Game 2 to beat the Mets.
I can't believe Kansas City was once upon a time good for that small period of time.
They had a great squad.
That's crazy.
They had a great squad, man.
Didn't they just win it? What was that, a couple years?
No, it's 15. It's been longer than you think.
Wow.
It seems like it was just a minute ago.
Wow.
And then what happens to small market teams is you can only stay in that window. You know, Yankees' window is permanently open.
Yep.
But for the Royals and the Guardians, the window goes like this.
Tigers was in there a little bit. For some reason, the Tigers had money. I didn't know why.
Because their owner was dying, and he's like, I can't take this with me, but I can buy memories of
and
a
I don't
World
want to
Series
leave it to my
championship.
kids.
And yeah, and Little Caesars was worth $1 billion, so he was like, I'll take him. And how much does Pudge want? Okay. How much does Miggy want? Okay.
That's exactly how I do when I go into Little Caesars. How many is these pieces? 5? Give me one of those. And one of those. Crazy bread.
It's like never go to the grocery store hungry.
Right.
Yes.
Why did I buy 2 boxes of Twinkies?
I do that all the time.
All the time.
That's me in a liquor store. Number 4.
All right, let's keep it moving. Number 4, Ricky Henderson getting traded to the A's. He stole 52 bases in 85 games, making them a juggernaut. They ended up winning the World Series.
Good move.
Relative ease.
I would have stole 53 if I played.
Oh, Lord.
No,
He would.
Number 3, we're going to ignore that comment from
Ricky's one of the greatest players ever, in my view.
When the Yankees traded for David Justice.
Yeah, that worked.
He had 20 home runs in the next 78 games, the 3rd World Series in as many years.
I would have had 21.
By the way, it did not work when the Indians got David Justice.
21. Oh, bro. I'd have topped these.
This next one, a little bit
He's still talking up his game over here.
a little bit under the radar, but Steven Pierce got traded to the Red Sox. He ended up winning World Series MVP. He's the only one on the list that ended up winning World Series MVP the year he was traded. And they gave up literally nothing for him.
That impressed Jay.
Yeah. I remember that, obviously, because it was I only remember it because it was so absurd.
Yeah, like
Rob, though. Give me all the money.
He
Yeah,
hit
that's
460
right.
in the World Series.
Yeah, no. Just had a absolute bonkers 10 days.
And lastly, number 1, how about Lou Brock getting traded to the Cardinals? 2 reasons for this. 1, it's Lou Brock.
That was a
Secondly,
deadline deal?
Deadline deal. The Cardinals were 7
deal.
games out of first place when they traded for Lou Brock. 7 games out of first place.
And it was probably like July 31st or July 30th.
Won the division by 8 games and won the World Series.
Wow. You know what? They probably would have won it by 10 if they had
back
me.
then, bro, you didn't have no rights.
They would have won it by 10. They did themselves a disservice. They could have got
So
it.
Dude, I think you should enter the next amateur draft.
I think I am.
Just throw your name in there, and if they say, who is this guy, send him the tape of the softball game.
You can't do worse than Jordan.
If Tim Tebow did it, I could do it. Tim Tebow had a
So it
try.
goes to show you that there could be some big deadline deals, but they don't always work out exactly how you anticipate.
So for every one of those that you just gave, I will give you 20 that didn't work out.
Yep.
And the other thing that I'm 100% against is the $30+ million deal. If you look at the teams that have won the World Series, yeah, they do have guys on there, and I know the Dodgers have multiple 30+ year guys. So but the teams like the Tigers that gave that money to Miggy, that is a death sentence. You will finish in last place for a decade. When they made that trade, I remember telling myself and others that they just sealed their fate. They will be in the basement they'll be irrelevant for a decade.
What's Mike Trout's deal?
Trout's a weird cat too because
He's got
never
a big
won a
deal.
playoff
I'm about
game.
I said his was huge.
Yeah, 30 million, 35 million.
No, I think he's actually like 29.75.
I thought he was.
I'll double check that.
Once upon a time, he was the standard. He was the highest
and he
paid.
was kind of sneaky old too. Trout, but
He's older than you think.
No, right now he's got a back injury.
He's hurt, yeah.
30 is sneaky old.
Sneaky old. You
Says
better-
the 40-year-old.
Hey, bro,
That's sad.
look, man, 31.
Oh, I'm still young then.
So this morning, though,
30,
guys,
Yeah, you're right.
When we came in, we saw something pretty special at work, and we put it on the internet to show you guys, and we got some funny comments back on it. So we're going to show you what we saw. Brought to you by
I did.
PCC Airfoils. Looking for manufacturer or career advancements. PCC Airfoils is the best in the business in Northeast Ohio. All locations of PCC Airfoils in Eastlake, Mentor, Wickliffe, and Minerva are hiring for all positions at $18 and up, plus full benefit packages, paid time off, and a signing bonus. Apply online at precast.com/careers to learn more.
Get that max deal. PCC Airfoils.
PC, you down with PCC?
Yeah, you know me.
Thank you very much.
I'm not encouraging that. I can't do that. I'm kind of embarrassed.
You're not co-signing the down with OP? Wow, really?
I can't ride with that
Come
one.
on,
Yesterday
man.
it was all thumbs up
It was.
on PCC.
But you know your boy got to get you though.
We're like, no,
All right, so we got to get through these quick. So let's take a look. But we
Mike's
came in
like,
this morning from the UCSS
Oh,
office.
damn.
We saw this
Toledo,
over Brown
right?
State. This is not Photoshop. This is 100% real.
Just a vortex to hell opening over our stadium. Nothing to look at here. I'm certainly not
Sucking all the good karma.
certainly not a divine punishment of
Hey,
any
man, I
kind.
don't-
So we got a couple of responses. We asked if anyone else saw this, and we got some good responses. This one from Eric Jones. Yep, confirmed. Gate to the upside down at the 30-yard line. A little Stranger Things reference.
Very good.
Let's keep going, Anthony. A tornado might rip down all our championship banners.
No chance that happens.
What's next? Don't worry, touchdowns rarely happen there.
Solid.
That's funny.
That is really good. That's the winner.
And here's from Reflog.
Yeah, he's covering up with a towel.
Nope.
But you understand he's covering up with a towel?
Yo, that's kind of funny.
I rebuke you.
It was very funny, yeah.
Yeah.
So we had to run through those pretty quickly. We appreciate I think like 100 people responded to us. So
You know what's
Nice job.
crazy
Those are good
is
ones.
yesterday on What's New, our meteorologist Matt Wentz literally said, now is the time to start looking for water spouts because the cold air masses coming over Lake Erie meet the warm water, and that causes the circulation. He said that yesterday. And boom,
He's
right
good,
on
man.
cue.
Wentz is good.
He is good.
This is the greatest
Final
question.
takes next.
This is the greatest question. At what time? When will Deshaun Watson jokes when will they become out of style? How many years?
Like the 2050s, probably, I'd assume.
I'd give it sooner than that.
I say 3-4 years.
Yeah, about
4
2 to
years.
3.
I wonder how much time he spent thinking about what he's going to hear on the road for the rest of his career.
Oh, he probably.
You know what he gonna hear? He gonna hear his Beats headphones.
Yeah, you're right.
I hope
Music
so.
going on.
Yeah.
Every time he touches that field.
Put the buds in and block it
You got to
all
get
out.
off social media for sure.
Oh,
You don't wanna
yeah,
see
yeah.
Oh,
that.
it absolutely needs to go.
And email. He wiped his email clean. That's done.
I think Sue L. Robinson said he's no longer allowed to have email or social media.
I wouldn't mind if it was that. Yeah, you just don't even. You ain't.
That'd
no.
be the worst punishment. That's worse than the 6 game.
Really?
Nah.
Social media.
You enjoy social media that
a lot
much?
of people do.
Man.
He can't.
You can make money off.
You know
of
there's a
social
whole
media.
real world you can live in. It's real.
You know what? Steve was
experience
one
stuff.
quick shout out to Sue because I do think she got like a little jab in here, like a funny joke that kind of I think she just did this to be funny.
I missed it.
Here it is. Regardless of my findings, it is apparent that Mr. Watson acted with a reckless disregard for the consequences of his actions by exposing himself to such public scrutiny and speculation.
Wow, you know
Is that
what?
a Sue burn?
I
Is that a
think
Sue burn?
that is a Sue burn. I went
she
right
put
over that.
I mean, she could have picked any other word. Like, she could have picked a synonym that doesn't also mean, taking out your junk.
What I got to do?
But she went with exposing. And you don't think she double-checked this?
Mike, that's a great
It's a
find.
Sue burn.
That is a really good
What
find.
I got to do? Put it in subtitles or something? That was
was.
That was in subtitles.
Sue was like, what I'm going to do? I'm going to have a little fun with this.
You
Sue burn.
She ran it by her husband.
Yep.
What do you
He's like,
think
you're
of this,
terrible,
honey?
Sue.
Go with it.
I love it. Have fun.
All right.
Final takes.
Final takes.
Get to 'em.
Yeah.
Yeah, hit it up.
Oh, I'm first.
Yeah.
Yeah, you lead us off. You don't have to wait for the animation. You can just
He likes to wait for it.
I like the people.
build the drama.
He feel like he feel like this.
You gotta look. Look at that. You gotta lock eyes. You
There
gotta
it
lock
is.
eyes.
Boom.
All right.
This one today is dedicated to The Ohio State University. Now, as of lately, the defense has been struggling. It's no secret. The last 3 years has put out the worst defense in Ohio State history. And what it's doing now is it's affecting the defensive recruiting. Because according to the last couple of drafts, we had a couple of really good 4- and 5-star defensive recruits, but they haven't been producing on the field. Therefore, this year we're looking to try to add these 5-star safeties and linebackers, and we're in the hunt, but we're missing out on them. And I think that's because they haven't seen this defense producing at a high level. Those silver bullets have to come back this season. If this defensive year is bigger than any year in Ohio State history. If y'all want the silver bullets to come back and y'all want to get these recruits and compete for national championships on a consistent basis, it's going to start on defense, because everybody knows that defense wins championships.
Boom.
Here, here.
Very good. I've had a great find yesterday when I was thrifting that I think is really going to be helpful. No, it's really going to help the show moving forward. And I'm pretty excited about it. You know how sometimes we get into situations where things get a little heated, or you just need to pull back from a situation, or you just need to turn the page on something when we're on this show. What I found was one of the best ways to do that is with humor. And I found this book called The Golf Joke Book. It's by Bob Lonigan, and it is absolutely terrible. It's one of the worst things. There's terrible golf jokes in here, just one after another. So what I'm suggesting, though, is whenever, say, we're arguing about something, and we're just like, all right, it's getting a little hot, somebody can call for a golf joke, clean the table, golf joke, we need a golf joke. I read it, and then we can move on to the next topics. You know what I mean?
That's a great idea.
I approve.
I like it.
That's great. So
we need an example right now.
Okay, sure. So pretend Bull's here, and Jay just said that Baker Mayfield's guaranteed to win 13 games this year. Okay? And so then he's just like, what are you talking about? You're an idiot. You're an idiot. He's just like, well, I'm just saying. And then somebody can go, golf joke. And then I pull out this golf joke book by Bob Lonigan from 1982, and I say, you can always spot an employee who's playing golf with his boss. He's the fellow who makes a hole-in-one and says, oops. Because you want to impress your boss. You see? Or
you don't want to make him feel bad.
Right. Or we start getting political or something like that. Someone's like, golf joke, and I just go, hold on. If you think it's hard to meet new people, pick up the wrong ball. Because they get mad if you pick up their ball, I guess. I don't know anything about golfing either.
Bro,
so
this is like...
What I'm saying is we have this option.
It's terrible, but it's funny.
This is our
like a bucket of ice water.
I could not be happier you brought this up. We will make a graphic and a sound effect.
Well, we'll keep it right here.
A golf joke.
Bob Lonigan's golf book is right here if we need it, you guys. That's my final take.
Don't ever stop thrifting.
I never will. Of course not.
You know what I noticed, man? I was up chilling, and I was smoking around and moving around and shuffling around at night. And I used to remember how back in the day, like, I wasn't allowed making my own sandwiches and stuff. Like, I had to be a certain age before I could get my sandwich game off. So my wife comes in one day and she says, hey, you want me to make you a sandwich? And I said, I just blanked out. I was like, that's not possible. She's like, what do you mean? And it just dawned on me that you can't make, like, it's hard to make another person a sandwich. There's way too much that goes into it. Like, if you eating cold cuts, do you like one cold cut, two cold cuts, or three? Sometimes I don't like the meat like stacked like that. Mm-hmm. Sometimes you might be on a mayonnaise and a mustard kick, but sometimes you don't like that much mustard and just a little bit of Hellmann's mayonnaise, and she put Miracle Whip on there.
Right.
Sometimes that I have cheese and it's cheddar cheese, and then she'd be like, well, I put cheddar on there. I'm like, but I don't eat cheddar all the time. I like pepper jack sometimes too.
Right.
Sometimes it'd be toasted, but then sometimes I'll be having like lettuce and stuff on there because I'll be thinking I'll be doing a big deal. Mm-hmm. And then I said, man, this is devastating. I just realized after a certain age, as a grown man, you must make your own sandwiches because you won't be totally satisfied inside with the decision that someone else makes for you. You'll find something wrong with it, like, ooh, it was turkey and ham. There's way too many slices of turkey on here. I only eat one and I cut that in half, right? So it's a lot of things you do as a grown man you just don't really, never really ever notice until someone asks you to do a trick. And I'm like, no. I like to wash my own socks too. Mm-hmm. I wash my own socks. I'm weird about socks. I'll throw them away after a certain time. So yeah, there's all kind of weird little stuff people got, and half of it has to do with food.
It's a good metaphor.
Yeah, that is interesting. I want to talk about the Guardians and their relationship with the fan base. It's not great. A lot of fans were alienated by the name change. Get over it. They're not going back. A lot of fans through the last decade try to look at ownership and call them cheap because they've been responsible. My favorite stat about the Indians/Guardians is over the last 10 years, no team in the American League has won as many games as they have. Let that sink in. Over the last 10 years, no team in the American League has won as many games as the Indians/Guardians. Now, they don't have a World Series to show for it, but they've given us a lot of exciting memories. They've taken the teams to the playoffs. The fan base, for whatever reason, is deciding not to come up this year. They're, again, in the bottom 5 in the league in attendance, which is perplexing to me. We've had a wonderful summer weather-wise, and our team is a game out of first place and a game out of the wild card, and we're in the month of August. That's not supposed to happen when you spend less money than every other team in Major League Baseball. We're blessed to have the ownership and the management that we have. Do they spend the amount of money that we want them to? No. What they do is they work smarter. They've brought in the smartest front office in baseball. I know the Rays are also right there with us. I'll take ours, thank you. I want the fans to understand that it's not a chicken or the egg type situation. A lot of fans are saying, well, when they win something, we'll show up. That's not the way the relationship works. Fans are fans, whether the team is winning or losing. And this team is winning. We haven't won it all yet, but this team is a winner. And that's thanks to Tito and the management and the ownership. So if you're one of those people who've been on the fence, I'm holding out, I'm not going to a game, I'll never watch this franchise again, it's baseball. It's the name on the front of the jersey that says Cleveland. This is still Cleveland's team. Support them, and let's win a World Series, for crying out loud.
Why not?
Let's get it done.
Why not?
And by the way, I do think that this, like, if I'm setting odds, I'm not putting them in the top 8, but I wouldn't have put the Braves in the top 8 last year. Mm-hmm. And they got rings.
And they can sneak in there. You can sneak in there.
By the way, the Dolphins owner has been suspended.
What are we doing tomorrow?
The Dolphins owner has been suspended.
Yep.
We talked about that.
We had that. Yeah, we had that.
We talked about that for like 20 minutes.
Yeah.
Brad just a
That
little
was the
late. You'll
tweet.
see your phone.
Yeah.
Love you, Brad.
Okay. Hey, we're out of time. Taking a 22-hour break. We're back tomorrow. And we hope you join us then on the Ultimate Cleveland Sports Show. Who knows? There may be a golf joke or two.
Yeah.
Just saying. Happy birthday.
Who's it? Oh, how old is he?
Wait, this kid.
I thought they said he was 24.
This kid is exceptional. Yep.